To sell the news kind of a Friday, setting up as we get going into the final day of what has been a pretty exciting week here, and an eventful one, definitely, as this China-U.S. summit comes to an end with a lot of question marks, let's be honest, remaining over whether there was anything accomplished or whether it was just a big photo shoot. We'll touch on some of the key points and maybe some things that were left on the sidelines. Semiconductors, for one thing. President Trump on Air Force One just saying that China has chosen not to buy H-200s, not that he has not allowed them to be sold into China. So clarifying the position from China's standpoint on that. But I mean, a real question mark remains over what happened over the past couple of days over in China, if anything at all. Meanwhile, Powell's last day today, the Warsh era begins. First time since 1948, Jerome Powell going to be staying on as the governor, despite his term as Fed chair coming to an end. Does that mean anything? We'll see. As far as the actual policy goes, probably not. The standpoint continues to be what it is. Cisco, day two, I mean, CBRS, just an absolute flop yesterday of an IPO. I mean, if you look at traditional media, they're saying, oh, it's up 90%. It was an absolute success, and it opened and went straight down. So we'll see what happens on day two, but it's setting up to be another negative day here. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Brendan. Yeah, you had to be really quick with that CBRS because it halted like within the minute there. But in terms of news today, I think it's really interesting too that you're saying President Trump is now saying that she doesn't, or but when I say she, I mean, of course, President Xi of China doesn't want to purchase these chips, because he also said that the chip purchase of Nvidia, quote, didn't come up. And then Jameson Greer said they didn't even have this topic planned at all, which also begs the question why they randomly invited Jensen Huang at the last minute.
And stopped in Alaska just to pick him up? It seems so strange.
Because he wasn't, you and I discussed this off camera, he wasn't on the official White House list. He never was. And then Trump's like, oh, he's not leaving Air Force One unless I tell him to. So there was just a lot of, I think, chaos and confusion. I don't think this helps the matter. Also, just to kind of go off what you said with China too, you've got both Boeing and GE with seemingly positive news in China, and both stocks tank on the announcement.
Is it though? I don't know if it is positive. I mean, the initial estimate or projection was 300 plus.
Because Trump was saying 150.
Well, of course he's going to say lower. Yeah. I mean, I think Boeing came out a couple of weeks ago and saying 300 plus, maybe even 500 would be a great number, and they come away with 200. So I mean, it's all just perspective. Tariffs don't even come up in this conversation.
You gotta wonder what they actually were discussing, because there's that one Truth Social post where Trump is just saying that, oh, like I saved America and she likes that. But other than that, I'm like, I don't actually know what policy matters, and I wonder if some of these CEOs are wondering why they came. Yeah,
it's so strange. And the other thing, I mean, there was a clip I saw this morning. There's a couple of pictures floating around yesterday of Jensen was eating noodles on a sidewalk in somewhere at a restaurant, and someone was saying that was pretty much all he accomplished the entire time he was there. There really wasn't much else to come of it. I mean, we saw Elon, we saw Tim Cook a couple of times just for photo ops, but where'd they go?
Elon brought his kid too. There's a photo of him with X, et cetera, in the hallway of the Great Hall of China. So.
Yeah, we'll see if anything else comes from this today. Not much in the way of economic data to worry about today. More headlines to always come, apparently, from this whole trip to China for President Trump. I'm sure we'll get more comments from him as well. As the morning goes along here, I mean, he's on TV right now. I don't know if that's actually live or not, or just a recap of him speaking on Air Force One. We'll watch out for more comments. Anyway, market back to the downside here so far this morning. The other thing that didn't come from this was anything in regards to oil, anything in regards to this Middle East situation. I mean, I think of all the things that could have come from this, that was probably the most highly unlikely that they, put out a joint statement or some sort of, directional comment from China. It was a long shot.
Well, Trump is making comments about what China has said about oil, but China's not backing them up. Trump is saying that China's agreed to purchase U.S. oil, and China has in no way said that they agree to this. So that's really all that happened, I guess.
So if anyone else has any more clarity, please feel free. Guys, it's Friday. Joey's in for Sean once again. Sean off at a hockey tournament for the weekend. Good morning.
In Minnesota.
Minnesota.
You know what? I didn't feel bad for Jensen. Okay.
Why would you ever feel bad for those guys?
Nvidia just made some all-time highs recently. He got to chill out on Air Force One, hanging out with the big wigs, eat some noodles on the street, not do much of anything, chill out because the earnings are going to be big next week anyways on Wednesday. So he's straight chilling, but there's a lot going on that, like yesterday in the afternoon, I was thinking, man, this feels like temporary top-ish, and I'm going to blame it on Cerebras. It's just one of those feelings where, okay, we have so much exuberance. You have a lot of things coming together. You had the market basically shrugging off hot CPI and PPI to make fresh highs. So like that was part of the back end of the week. Then we have this whole factor of, well, oil prices are still at the highs and we seem to not care about that and we're still making fresh highs. Now we got IPO mania, where this was one of the more insane opens that I've seen in a while, just for how it was. It was priced at 115 on Monday. That was the range. And then it was 150 2 days ago. And then it was 185 overnight last night. And then it opened up at 350. It was a really fun few seconds with the long, because that's great. Like that was a very, very good candle. Love it. Thank you. But everything else was just sell it off, sell it off. Now it's loss of 300. So there's a lot that makes me feel temporary top here. Then you throw in AMAT, which had a strong quarter, strong guide. Nothing wrong there. Was moving upside when we left you. Gives it up after the call. We're gapped down, and now this is looking relatively bearish. And again, another name at the highs doing this. So it's got that topping tail. There's just a lot going that that feels temporary topish. The reaction of crypto to the crazy run yesterday.
I thought, well, that's what I was saying to you, right? I was thinking, hey, man, we were coming here this morning. I had 3 names on my list. We were doing tomorrow's trade today, and that was going to kick things off with a lot of cryptocurrency in regards to the Clarity Act. But as for what we had going on with China and Jensen, it's okay, 10 companies are going to start to receive the H200 now. They don't want them at all. So, again, that tennis match continues the back and forth. So we'll continue. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear the other end of the story as well. It's like, you know what, we'll grab some of them. Some corporations will take them. But nonetheless, I mean, the market is gapping down. At some point, we did think we were going to sell. Did we think it was going to be on a Friday? I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past this market to find some form of a recovery. We're not really in any breakout zones. If you ask me, in Bitcoin, we're not sitting on top of a range. And I was looking at Coinbase and Robinhood as well, too, because they put in some strong sessions yesterday. We obviously had the IPO as well, too. So the SPY and the NASDAQ, I wouldn't put it past this market, as I just mentioned, to find some form of a footing and then a bounce and a recovery here in halfway through the session. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. We'll stick with the longs. If it continues to sell, then hey, man, we just have to switch that narrative up and go with the flow and see what we can find from that standpoint. But yeah, we'll definitely look to buy some dips here this morning.
Maybe Figma.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of all the things, right? Like, this is the day. We come in and the markets, like the NASDAQ's gap down. We're 1.6 down, almost 2% down on the NASDAQ. We're over 1% down on the ES. And your bucket of strength was actually a strong report from Figma off the low. So this is where we're at. Like, and why not? Why not? Like sometimes it's so bad it can be good. In this particular case, it really wasn't that bad. Like it was actually a pretty solid report for them beating. They had strong growth. So maybe a little fundamental to get this thing to rise from the dead like the Undertaker. We need that would be cool too. Like if we had you hit a button and then you had like the Undertaker just popping up. Because that's exactly what you think for
fake.
No, but but you can't see the market isn't the Undertaker coming back up. Like the market is more like just bouncing off the canvas like really easy.
Yeah, okay. Get 5-star.
Like the Taker you'd think you have him, right? You put the move on, he's down. And then
he's back.
Rise, it's like, oh, you can't.
Like Tyson Fury. Okay.
Legit dead, and then he comes back.
So we would have to find. Okay, so Figma pretty dead. A couple of super stocks that have just been extremely destroyed as of late, and then see if they can find some form of recovery. Maybe we can classify Meta. Meta, maybe.
See, Meta, if Meta gets back
or Microsoft.
Not that you guys in the chat wanted to believe in that, because we put up the poll. We had a poll last night. Well, it's not last night. It's in the afternoon show. And we basically just, all we said was, which Mag 7 name would you buy right now?
Yeah.
Right? And obviously, a lot of things are at the highs. So you expected there'd be a little bit of love for bottom picking. There was some love. I think Microsoft got like 10% of the vote, but it was like 3 for Meta. Overwhelmingly, Nvidia, boringly, Nvidia and Alphabet led the way. But there was a shocking, well, maybe it's only shocking to me. It probably is only surprising. I actually thought that Apple would get a few more votes, and Apple was down at basically tied with Meta at 3%. Pretty much nobody in our viewership liked this the most. And again, it's not saying that people don't like it. It's just you had to pick one of the Mag 7 to buy here, and Apple was at the highs and turning around. But they're all at the highs and turning around. The point with Meta and coming from the dead is if it ever really does decide to rise up, relative to some of the others, you're getting a pretty good valuation. Just doesn't want to do anything. Holding 600 is good. Hold it. Breaking out from 600, that's not happening so much. So that's got to be watched. Oh, and Mike Peter Ryder, good point. Gemini is also on the move today. Another one rising from the dead. Oh, no. When we talk about, I see a lot of people talk about how bad the Cerebras IPO is. You just have to remember that coming to the market via IPO is typically it's not usually the best place to buy something anyways, right? Like Gemini would be an example of that, and Figma would be an example of that. I'll never forget how badly Facebook traded on its first day until it finally caught a bid, which was fun, and it did so in the afternoon. It's just sometimes, you know, it's exit liquidity for a reason, and you trade it the best that you can, take advantage of the long while it's there, and now I kind of feel like that's going to be a short today. But Gemini, strong one, they reported, and another one rising from the dead. It's gapped up and above VWAP. Like there's this, and then Redwire was another one that looks pretty interesting. Oh, never mind. Redwire looked a lot more interesting when it was above VWAP when I sat down. That one's even breaking a bit of a trend. A lot of the space and aerospace names were pretty strong on the hype of the starting of the roadshow for SpaceX. Has been announced. Yeah. They're getting the ball rolling sooner because they're trying to change a lot of things, and it's going to be so gigantic with SpaceX. So you had a bit of a run in some of the funds that invest pre-IPO privately. They were making moves yesterday. Then you had some sympathy plays in the space names yesterday. So Redwire caught a little bit of that.
I was listening to Ron Barron on CNBC the other day, and I was telling you about this, just how he's looking at this SpaceX IPO. He's like, you're just throwing out ridiculous numbers, right? Like $30 trillion market cap in like 10, 20 years or something along those lines. But I mean, it's going to probably open up. It's only a matter of time until that thing holds $1 trillion and is a part of that lucrative club. And I mean, it's definitely the most popular. Can we say of maybe the decade, maybe the SpaceX? Because if you start from 2020 and then you go to what's coming up, what's in the pipeline, really, I think SpaceX is definitely one of the most interesting ones, if you ask me. And then you have obviously Anthropic on the horizon. This is the biggest IPO ever. Ever. Okay, so ever.
There's nothing that quite like. They're talking about the ways that the manner in which they can get into the S&P 500 as fast as possible. Like, oh, we're going to do it in tranches so we can get this thing into the index. There's a lot going on. Then you have, this is probably not the avenue to talk about the governance stuff, but there is that as well. And it's going to be absolutely gigantic. Like the event that I would compare it to is not an IPO. The event that I would compare SpaceX to, just from pure when it happens, it's not happening today for anyone that's like, what's going on? The event would be like when Tesla was added to the S&P 500, where, believe me when I tell you, you had every type of trader and investor geared on one thing for one day. It was wild. Like the same, as just a regular dude prop trader on a prop desk, you were looking at and freaking out the same way in the afternoon that the big boys in New York. It was just all the same shit. Because I remember we went out and it was some industry thing, and we're at the bar, and it's like everyone's talking, and I'm just a prop trader, and everybody was talking about Tesla in the aftermath and how crazy it was. And I feel like that's what it's going to be. this IPO, and it is causing some pretty good moves elsewhere around the market, like that Destiny Tech has been moving around, very volatile. You can see this one had a huge dump yesterday, and it's been just absolutely flying around. Like ARC, I forget which one it is, but Kathy Woods, one of the ARCs is like the private blah, blah, blah. You can look it up, the letter at the end. And that one was pretty heavily moving around. So there's going to be a lot of volatility, and especially in the space place should be a lot of fun. The market, by the way.
Yeah, market.
NASDAQ just tagged. We just tagged a fresh low. The only good thing about it being already down this far, it gives us something to rally from, right? Like there's always that possibility. Nvidia is poised to test that trend of no days in the last 7 or 8 where it loses the prior day low. And it's there right now. But to me, that's an open thing. That's a 9:30 thing. Like that kind of, I don't really care if it loses it in the pre-market. If it loses it in the open market, it's a completely different story. This one, I would rather try to give it a chance that there's a bid here come 9:30. Yeah, so a lot to watch. We should have Michael coming on as well.
9:30, yeah. Or 8:30, I guess.
Or 8:30, we'll have Michael
yeah.
Moss coming through. It'll be interesting to see what he wants to talk about, because we're at a very big inflection point. He's probably the most bullish in this rally, and we'll come in on a 1.6% or wherever we're at in the next like 15 minutes.
Bitcoin's down one and a third here. I mean, at some point we had to expect some form of a pullback.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of, and I know, Neil, you and I were talking about this the other day, is that within the memory space, we're like, oh, okay, this is the time. Okay, well, you just absorb a little bit more liquidity. And I'm talking about the DRAM, the DRAMs of the world, and then obviously the SanDisk. Wow, I'm typing DRAM. So, I mean, you pop up, right? So you have this aggressive selling day where you slide into $48, you climb back up into 54, but then you're just heading right back into that area. And then Micron, we'll take a look at them to see that you're down to 750 now from 819, so that's almost 10%. And same thing with DRAM, SNDK to the downside here and at some key support levels. So you're dropping a couple $100, 14% off of those highs, but you expect the market to cool down at some point, right? So. Hey, this trend breaks. Watch out for a pullback. I don't know if we're going to ever see $633 anytime soon. That'd be pretty hefty of a pullback. I mean, we could do the percentage metric right now. That's 12%. Okay, so that's exactly what we seen last time, right? Like it's almost identical. So I don't know if that's going to be the narrative right now, but maybe with the Nvidia reporting on Wednesday, and we don't know necessarily what's exactly going on with the chips once again. Yeah, maybe we see a little bit of a cooling here, temporary top, as you mentioned before, Neil. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be looking for this dip to get bought up, maybe today, maybe tomorrow at some point, I believe it will. So that's what I'm going to be looking at here. And other than that, Bitcoin not doing exactly what I want it to, but we'll keep our eye on it just in case there's that mid-morning rally, right? You come around 10:30 or so, and it decides that it wants to find some form of a recovery. You can see this $46 mark right here, kind of acting as some key resistance zone, and exactly the exact same thing here happening in Coinbase too, right? 216.49. So with the inability to break, and I was looking for it to open up on the top end of this range, but we punched through on multiple occasions, and with the inability to hold it. So we'll see what happens in some of these crypto plays here today.
Absolutely, and I put it in the chat, but I'll also buy it. Can I see a little conversation? Someone just put in the chat, I'm shorting Iceman. I'll play.
Drop Iceman.
I don't get it. What are we talking about here? I gotta know. Do you know this? Do you know what that's in reference to? Iceman.
Oh, it's a new drink.
Oh, I'm locked into market mode, man. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
It's just a joke about how
Okay.
people are like, what's this Iceman thing gonna be? For the record, I'm also probably shorting Iceman, but I have no idea who's gonna be on it or anything.
Okay, fair enough. I guess I'm a bad Canadian that like, we're on a trading show and my brain goes to the market first. If you say Iceman, market first because you said short, right? And then Top Gun second because Iceman is one of the greatest characters in movie history. And then Drake, I mean, technically speaking, there's only 3, so it has to be third. But, you know, if we're doing like this, and I have to look at this in like this, then somewhere like down here. Like you can see a little bit, but that's about it. When I go to Joe now, it's Friday, right? So Friday, every day you care about options. But on Friday, it's even more important. So we're going to have Joey Options at the screen talking about you know what.
All right, guys, good morning. Let's take a look at some of the activity from yesterday's session. We're going to kick things off with Ford climbing higher, getting involved with energy storage here. Open interest, guys, at this $13.50 expiring today, sitting around 28,900 contracts. The exact same thing with the volume. I thought that was interesting here, guys. And then we can see within the bid and the ask, in the money contract, we can just tell that by our delta, $95 might be slightly out of the money here this morning, but our gamma exposure relatively cooler as we had more ITM. Now, as for our at the money implied volatility, sitting around 71.2%. But what I really want us to focus on with this specific name here is the actual contract itself. Substantial return here, guys, from the 13th of May. So only a couple of days ago, you're going to see 4,500% return from the low. This thing was worth $3 and climbing to a high of $1.46 on that specific contract. Now, how do we achieve this, guys? So it's essentially anticipating where we are going to go, but not where we are currently at. So in order to obtain that goal, you need to buy a contract that's extremely out of the money, and that's where you'll see that exponential percentage return. Moving forward, let's take a look at Cisco, guys, at this $120 mark. A lot of volume coming in at that level, 49,700 contracts open and closed on yesterday's session. 10,000 still currently open, waiting for today's expiration. Now, if we take a look at our bid in the ask, we're looking at an $11 or $9 spread here, guys. So keep an eye out on this. The delta relatively cool because it is an out of the money contract, and our gamma exposure sitting around $11, an uptick in implied volatility. Now, as for the contract itself, identical to Ford here, guys. You need to anticipate where the move is going to be, and you need to purchase those contracts far out of the money in a way to obtain that goal. 3,200 to the top side. Now, I've been talking about these names here earlier this morning. I'm going to kick things off with a lot of crypto talk. Coinbase, IBIT, and Robinhood on the radar, but I wanted to take a look at some of the options activity in regards. All of them were trending yesterday. Strike price 220 on coin. Open interest 11,200 there. Volume at 29,000. All of them are going to be expiring this Friday. Now, as for IBIT, that $48 marker may be in play, but a lot of open interest at that level. So we can classify that as a supply zone. 13,500 contracts open and closed there. And then as for Robinhood, at that $82 strike price, 17,200 contracts with volume 18,000 opened and closed. Let's keep an eye out for those levels to come into play in the near future. Let's send it back to Neil.
You know, I'm thinking the same thing about cryptos. I think you were like how bullish everything was. What's interesting is how little coin has moved here. It's almost the IBIT chart that I like a little bit better. But the point being, when things broke out and started to go ham, I think that provides an interesting base for some of these things. As long as they're not just talking about today. Like I would put this for next week as well. And when we come in on Monday and are trading, like as long as you're holding the 200, even if it's bad today, as long as this is holding the break level and can find that support where the buyers were before, I feel pretty good. I was just about to tweet out like a similar thing here in IBIT. Like this is one. Like it started out, you got the 45 quarter, then you have the even that's down there. I like that for a buy zone because of the explosion that we had to the upside there, and then you throw this in on IBIT too. Like it's an uptrend consolidation, like it's consolidation support. So yeah, the market looks pretty weak, but that's one space where we had a lot of buying for its own reasons, and I think you can go for that little support area that got broken away from. Prefer IBIT to that coin move. Robinhood, I didn't look at Robinhood this morning, so I probably should. Does that give you a similar? Yeah, it's basically the same chart here where you're gapped into the middle of that breakout range. And very similar to, not as strong as IBIT because IBIT was more of like an uptrend and then it's consolidating, but it is still a consolidation zone where if it pulls back to where it broke out from yesterday, you're getting the 50 period. I just feel as if you look at this and then you look at like Bitcoin, like which one is in a pattern that looks better for buying the dip on the flag? It seems like it's just keep it simple and look at IBIT.
Yeah.
Today. JKL with the super chat.
Yeah, he's coming in with his
There it
morning
is.
super
We
chat.
always get the morning super chat from JKL, throwing it in there.
Short MSTR every day, I see that.
Go with the leaders report. Long SNDK, you did say you were looking for a dip there, and short MSTR. This, I'm trying to think, like, can you beat the, like, you're not going to beat Cal Ripken's streak shorting MSTR every single day, like he played like 2,000 games in a row. But can you beat DiMaggio's streak? Can you get 57 days in a row, because he had to hit 56 games in a row? Can you short MSTR 57 days in a row into a slight uptrend? Because it hasn't pressed that 200 yet, but it is still kind of going up. You able to weather the storm yesterday when crypto went up, and it still didn't break into that 200, so that's still working out. SNDK is more interesting because if this is a temporary top, right? Like if everything, we just hit a high and we're taking a little bit of a walk back, I feel like this would be one of the names that I'd be the most concerned about in terms of percentage pullback if there's continuation on it. Granted, you've already pulled back pretty decently, and it is going to its support at 13 hundo. You lose that next week, though, and that's a different story. If this loses the 1300 level, more like 1290, there's just a long way for it to go. But it's already put in its pullback. Some things haven't done that yet. Like you look up at a few things that are a little bit, that I'm unconvinced. Like, like Intel's clearly done it. Apple, it was just, there's a name that's at the highs and it's like day one of the pullback in here. Like some names have really already given you that dip and others just haven't participated. You gotta be careful with it. But yeah, to be able to withstand that like the move in crypto yesterday and MSTR still did not blow out that top, that's boding well for you. Even though I'm still bullish on Bitcoin right now.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
Like I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's like, you know what? It's not breaking this 200 for the last couple of weeks.
Fair enough. I mean, I heard you talking about SanDisk there. We're down 15% off of the highs already, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back in a little bit more. 20% puts you around that $1,200 mark. So that's not too bad whatsoever. I mean, we're looking at Bitcoin here this morning, guys. So we'll have a little bit of fun with that. Mike Peter Ryder, I see everybody in the chat. I heard you guys talking about Iceman when I was heading over there. Everybody's on about this. So maybe we'll take a listen to that a little bit later when we go to the gym this evening. But we're going to try to hyper-focus on a couple of names here. We got Michael Noss coming up momentarily, I believe. I don't see him in the queue just yet. As soon as I get the green light from Assassino, we'll see what he's got going on this morning. Sure enough, he's gone over his charts last night, and some good material for us to talk about here today. But there's going to be some signs of strength somewhere, right? And I believe that at some point the market is going to recover. The TQQQ is down 5%, the NASDAQ half of that. So, I mean, at what point did you think that we were going to continuously keep going up and up and up and up to the point where it's just like, I mean, always is right. But we talked about what a 12% pullback potentially looks like off of these highs, and we just experienced that. So if you come back and retest this area, which it would seem pretty ugly, right? So you come from $720 all the way down to $629, but in the grand scheme of things, it's 12%, exactly what you experienced on that previous pullback from before. So I don't think it's anything to worry about. And I believe there's a lot of cash on the sidelines waiting for something along those lines. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I hopefully we do get it because I want to get involved in some of these names. I'm just not buying them all the way up here.
It's tough. You know what? I like this in the chat. And maybe we'll ask Brennan and Adair their thoughts on this. Because someone's had just said it's time to look for the things that have not rallied yet. Like, what is suspiciously, or it doesn't have to be suspiciously, just what hasn't gone that you think can be the next wave, or what do you think should have already rallied with its cohorts? Like we've been talking about, the CEG is a name that has not been rallying with its cohorts. Maybe that could be next. So someone say the software sector as well. So what do you guys think is the next leg up for the markets?
think we need a pause before we do anything more to the upside. I mean, it's a nice thought, but the market's come so far, so fast. I mean, what is it, 7-8 weeks in a row? Go to a weekly chart of the overall index. It's insane.
Yeah.
And possibly due for a little bit of a pullback or a pause at this point. Just real quick, we'll talk to Michael coming up here on IPOs, get his thought on not only what happened yesterday, but I think what's to come the remainder of the year and what that meant yesterday for what is to come for the remainder of the year. This Microsoft story, kind of interesting this morning with Ackman.
Yeah.
I mean, if you zoom out again to even a weekly chart on Microsoft, you'll see why there's a massive, massive level that he was clearly working off of. Remember, when you hear these stories of, Pershing Square, not in the middle here, there we go, of Pershing Square, took a big position in Microsoft or name your stock, it's always happening after the fact. So they've worked into this large position over, the past couple of weeks or months. We don't know. We probably will never find out. But it's always fun to actually go out to a higher time frame and say, okay, well, here's probably where they're, long against. But a lot of people talking about this morning, kind of strange. I mean, it's not really a stock that someone like Bill Ackman typically gets involved with.
No, and I think I've said this a lot on camera. Bill Ackman, I have noticed, he likes to talk. He likes to say certain things, so I tend to not put a lot of stock into what he's actually said, and more like, okay, like clearly the market does like this Microsoft story, but I think like also you remember when he disclosed his Uber position, and he spent a lot of time talking about how Edward Norton, famous actor, got him into Uber. Like, I feel like there's always a lot of emphasis on him trying to push certain things rather than, you know what I mean, maybe the fundamentals of the movement. That being said, I think MSFT here, if he discloses his position like he's saying he's going to, I think it will be good. But like with Ackman, there's a lot of talk. I want to see action, and I want to see how big this position actually is, because like you said, it's really out of character for them. Yeah,
it's, and the timing of it is interesting as well on the way back up. Maybe, I mean, we're starting to go back up for Microsoft, but let's see. Really, really interesting for him. Let's bring in Michael Loss, get his take on, again, some IPOs, not only what happened yesterday, but what is to come over, who knows? I mean, going into the end of the year, we're expecting a whole bunch. Anthropic, OpenAI, who knows? SpaceX, obviously, as the guys were talking about, going to be the biggest one. But let's start with what happened yesterday. Just from a technical standpoint, as I alluded to off the top of the show here, you turn on any media outlet, they're going to say, massive success, 90% to the upside was, just an absolute explosion, when in reality, what happened was the stock opened and just tanked all day.
Right, and it really depends what side of the coin you're on. The people who got the allocation, which isn't us, if you don't know how to get an IPO allocation, you're not going to get an IPO allocation. That's not something that you do. It's something that your broker picks up the phone and calls you and says, hey, you're a very high net worth guy with Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or something. We want to make you happy. We're going to give you, it was like 185, and then you can just dump it on the open if you want.
Yeah, which led to, I think, what happened yesterday. But, I mean, the biggest one in a long time, and potentially the start yesterday was the biggest one in a long time, especially for tech, and potentially the start of more to come here. What is your thought, I guess, on the overall state in trading these really as a valid trade?
Yeah, and this is one that I think stats, like how I look at the market in a quantitative way, really helps, because there's no technicals to go off of, because the thing hasn't really existed before. And then also, like we just kind of alluded to, it's a big hype machine. So the people who on day one make a lot of money on IPO, again, are the people who get the allocation. And it's, the joke always was when I was in the hedge fund industry, it's like, when you go to a restaurant and they don't have prices on the menu, you don't ask. If you have to ask what the price is, you can't afford it, kind of thing. And it's the same thing, where you have two sides of the coin going on, where these brokers are trying to service their really high net worth clients by giving them, it's not enough to have a huge, amazing return in your portfolio overall, but it's like a little kicker. It's like, hey, you want this at 185, you can get it at 185. 90% chance you're going to be able to scalp it out on the open and make some free money there. At the same time, in order for that to happen, there has to be this whole hype machine that gets turned on and says this company's amazing and this is the next Google or Facebook or something, so that they have that inflated price and that they can take a kind of trade off it, right? So you got to understand is that there's an Warren Buffett quote that I have here about basically it's negotiated transaction action. The seller chooses when to go public. And then the last thing to think about just on concept of IPOs before we dig into the number is why does a company IPO? It only IPOs for two reasons. One, they want to raise money in the market, or two, they have some very early stage investors that need some sort of an exit plan. That's the only reason. So you only go IPO when it's time to sell stock in some way. So just use those two things to always kind of help yourself with the overall hype. This next chart, again, put this together with my buddy Claude, and this is just some really cool data points. So if you got the IPO, you made a 68% return yesterday, right? The allocation was around $1.85, so I hear, right? It hit 350, and if you chase the open, you lost 11%. If you hit the high, you lost 20% of your money in a single day. It just really shows the difference between the people who got in beforehand or the people who kind of chased in off the open. But this isn't rare. So the next chart here just shows some kind of overall stats. So in 1 in 4 days, they will close below the auction price, the price of like the rich people got. In 1 in 4, 25% chance it gets below that price, which means if these people know this, there's a 25% chance that by the end of the day, their positions are going to not be much. They're going to have to sell some. And then in 3 years, the 3-year return is 60 or 34% for buying an IPO and just holding it for 3 years on average. You bought every IPO and you held it for 3 years on average. That sounds great, 34%, until you realize if you took the same, this is an academic study you can look up in the University of Florida by Jay Rittler, and he said, well, what if I just bought actual companies that have been around for a while and held those for the 3 years? So say there's a semiconductor IPO that comes out. Well, what happens that versus just buying the semiconductor company that already exists? That's 61% over the same 3 years. So you make more money buying the established company. And again, half of all IPOs are going to be underwater after a year. So 50-50 chance this thing is even lower than when it IPO'd at in one single year. So this next chart just kind of shows what I talked about there with the 34%. If you buy and hold for 3 years, that's your return. But if you just bought the established firms already, you did much better. Next chart here is just talking about, the returns of the IPOs kind of behave a little bit differently than others. So this is a system that I'm working on myself. It's one that was very popular 10 plus years ago, and by Marston Parker, who created this. He's the guy who actually created my backtesting software as well. He's in the Market Wizards, and he traded this IPO, but the edge kind of fell apart, but not because it didn't work anymore. It's because there's no IPOs. So this is something to think about, like me and Brendan just talked about. There's a bunch of IPOs coming. So I'm trying to use this as a way to kind of prep that. So if you buy any company 20 days later, between a all-time high. So the company makes an all-time high, it pulls back for at least 20 days, and then you buy it. You get, on average, like a 1.5% return. It's not very good buying all-time highs overall in 20 days. IPOs for 20 days after it breaks that IPO high, you get on average about a 4% return. That's 4 times better. So this is kind of leads me to think about a way to potentially trade these IPOs. And it requires a little bit of patience, but all trading does. But so let's just pay a little bit of attention here to this particular system. So the next chart is just the outlay of the system. So we're trading US stocks only, mid to large caps and mega caps. So no tiny junky stocks. We want to define an IPO as something that's fewer than 90 days ago. If it takes longer than 90 days to break out, then we're not interested. We never trade them on day one, and we're essentially just buying the IPO as it breaks the high. So for Cerberus, yesterday, you just mark that IPO high. If it breaks that, that's where we're buying with a 10% profit target and 20% profit target and a 10% trailing stop. This next chart is the returns of this particular strategy. So over 23 years, it 3x the return of the S&P 500 year over year, with a third of the drawdown. So again, there is some edge here. The Problem is, there's not many IPOs out there until now. Now it seems like we're getting more and more IPOs coming out, so this might be something to look at. And the beauty of it is I like the simplicity of the trading. We just mark the highs. I've already done it. I've put out my alert. If it doesn't trigger in 90 days, the alert just cancels. So I don't even have to think about it. My broker will yell at me if this kind of thing happens. So here's just the scoreboard of the next chart of just what the stats are. Again, 17% year over year growth, 1.4% Sharpe ratio is great. I did want to highlight the 41% win rate. So like with most kind of breakout strategies, you're wrong more often than you're right. But when you're right, you're targeting that 20%, and when you're wrong, you're losing around 10% or a little bit less. So that's great. That's what we're fine with that if we can keep going. So let's just go back and take a look at the next chart, which is just showing what happens. Again, if you bought at the IPO price, good for you. You made 70%. If you got hyped up into the open, I'm sorry, right? You lost a little bit more. But the system has a plan coming forward of what we're going to do here. And then the next chart here is just the chart of that Cerberus candle where we're just going to wait for that. I think it was 386 of the high. And that's what I'm going to do. So you can set alerts in most brokers that say, hey, alert me when this thing comes. If you want to just follow the system, I gave you the rules. Might make sense to kind of, do some more. How does this market look? What's the other areas? Use your own trader discretion around this to see if you can juice that win rate just a little bit. And then the final slide here is just kind of a breakdown of what we're trying to do. But the main idea is that there is a hype machine behind IPOs that are trying to create FOMO within you to buy them. Now, they may work. There's some IPOs, I was like CoreWeave and what was Newsmax last year that went from like $10 to like $250. So again, if you're going to trade them, trade them intraday, and then maybe if you got a great winner, maybe you hold on to them or something like that. But the stats are behind FOMOing into these and more about potentially this system of just give it a couple days, mark that high, and you have a trading plan if we get there.
We'll see how this goes. I mean, as we said, more to come, obviously, going into the end of the year here. It seems, however, the narrative around this market changed going into this year, I think, just based on what is expected, the size of the IPOs that are expected to come to market this year. But, I mean, if you go back to the past couple, there really hasn't been much, as you alluded to, but 2020, 2021, when we had almost daily, there was a laundry list of, mostly SPACs. I wonder if that shifts the outcome of this, if you include some of that data.
It's funny because I'm actually, I'm looking down at the Claude research thing I got going on. I'm doing the same thing because there is a narrative that when you get a spike in IPO activity, that it is at a top or near a top of the market. And the two big examples that I see kind of thrown around for that was the year 2000, the dot-com bubble. There was a new IPO, internet this, internet that came out every day. And that was, I guess, at near the top. We'll see what the data says. And then also, like you mentioned, 2021, it was just this company de-SPACed and that company de-SPACed. And we know what happened in 2022. And we know that most, if like tons of those SPACs are now gone. I remember the scooter company that they were throwing them into the lakes or whatever because it was annoying the people that live there, Bird or whatever, and that's gone. So there may be something there in which you have, and it makes sense if you look at it from a psychological point of view. You're going to want to IPO your company when the market has animal spirits and everyone's feeling hyped and they kind of want to buy everything, because what we talked about, you need that hype machine in order to use that liquidity to get out. I don't know if the data is there for that, but I guess a preview for Monday. I'm going to take a look at that and we'll see, is there that correlation, or is that just kind of one of those old wise tales that we hear a lot?
Going to be exciting to watch this going into the remainder of this year. Mike and Loss, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you then.
Have a great weekend.
Fantastic stuff as always. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the actions here this morning. We're going to kick things up. Figma on the downside of things, but up substantially here, guys, 9%. All right, a $3 price reduction by JP Morgan, holding that neutral weight rating. And then we also have Workday getting a downgrade here, guys, going from mixed to negative by BWG Global, slightly positive this morning. And then we have Viking Holdings down 3%, guys, going from an overweight to an equal weight here, with an increase of price target from $81 to $86 by Morgan Stanley. And then Sangoma getting the downgrade, going from a buy to a hold, price target reduction from $9 to $4 by Canaccord. Looking at some more positive things, we have Applied Materials, an uptick after the report, guys, but down this morning with the overall market. You're down 1 1/4 here. Holding that buy rating is B of A, but increasing its price target to $540. Now, CrowdStrike also getting the nod here, guys, by BTIG Research, $499 to $621. And then USAR here, guys, down this morning, overweight rating with $30 price target increased to $35, and American Express getting the nod as well by Freedom Brokers, down about 0.4%, but going from a buy to a hold, and a price target increase to $370 from $325. Let's send it back to Neil.
Get it, CrowdStrike. That's all we got to say. No, love Crowd. We were talking about just now, like it was before we had Michael on, like what are the next things to go? People were saying cybersecurity was one of the things that got thrown in there. I'm like, really? Because they haven't been going already? Like, I don't know. And it could be a new leg up on this. And when we were asking the question, my brain was sort of more going to the things that had been languishing a little bit, or been lagging a little bit, or starting an upward trend, or starting a break. But you could make the argument you're starting a new break here in Crowd. But it's just such a crazy rally. This is something that hasn't really even pulled back. And oftentimes what'll end up happening, this is Joe, I tend to like stuff a lot of times if it's a company that I like, a business that I like, then I'm trying to buy it when other people are hating on it. And when you got that with everyone freaking out about how AI was going to destroy everything, and it's like Claude this and Claude that, that was a time that you could get CrowdStrike at $400, and now you can't. So it's what is next? I threw around that CG as a possibility. Oh, but there was one thing I wanted to show, because I don't know if Michael was able to find a good example of that IPO trade. I happen to know one, and there's an obvious reason. If you know me, you know I own shares of ARM and I like ARM. But this, maybe not that 20-day thing, but okay. I think the notion of what you're looking at when you see an IPO have that early, this is a weekly chart, by the way, when you have that early, like little bit of a downturn, and then you get the IPO breakout. And when it does happen, it is a pretty impressive historical buy signal. I would just take it, personally, I take it a step further, because I don't think, fine, everyone wants to wait for that. You want it to happen in 20 days, and it's more exciting if it does, all that good stuff. But some of the biggest ones, I guess I need a monthly here, some of the biggest opportunities like that can still happen later. And I'm just reminding everybody what happened in Robinhood. Like on a monthly chart, like Robinhood did do a dip, and it did do the immediate bounce. Oh, yeah. So it also belongs in the category for what Michael was talking about. But what happened after, when it retook that IPO high, was spectacular in a way that was just different. While we were gone, Poet there was a bit of a story on Poet. I put it into the chat for everybody. It was just, they secured financing of $400 million in a registered direct offering of common shares and warrant. And they're already buying Poet right back. So if you're wondering what the heck happened to Poet, we threw that one in the chat for everybody. But it did get back to where it was at 18.5 for now. So dilution. Poet has been one of the runners. I mean, there's been a lot of runners, but one of the bigger runners, volatility-wise, the last little bit. So it dipped right back into, I guess, the meat of the prior highs, and the buyers are coming in. Sometimes it's about how they react to an offering more than anything else.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, you're talking about things selling off and not liking them when they're that hot. For me, that's JP Morgan. We're still down 11% off the high. We went over a couple of the banks yesterday. I mean, they're hitting all-time highs. They're bouncing off it, and JPM still down 11% off that high. So as for the long term and even the near term, I like this name here. South of $300 is JPM. So some of the financials not performing their best. And I mean, if you see JPM really start to get the ball rolling here and start to climb higher, I think that can help the SPY take an additional leg higher. But yeah, that's what I like, guys. JPM, let's send it back to the desk. Let's see what they got going on over there.
Boeing making a move back to the downside here. Nothing that I can see as to a reason why, but worth keeping an eye on this one going forward for this morning as well. What an ugly day that was yesterday. For Boeing, just opened and just straight to the downside for the entire morning. There was a couple of people mentioning crypto in all of this. We're sitting here basically at the lows right now for, I mean, IBIT, you can pull up Bitcoin if you want, basically at the lows going into the weekend once again. I was reading that note on Strategy this morning. They repurchased some senior notes again, said they were going to fund it with cash on hand. They have tons of cash on hand, but also could possibly come from the sale of Bitcoin, which we haven't heard from them for a while.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know their CEO, who is not Michael Saylor. It's always worth noting he's their chairman, but he legally is not allowed to be the CEO of Strategy. Anyway, so Saylor, we know not Saylor, but the CEO was saying that they could be potentially selling. That's as of their earnings report last week, but I didn't actually think they would be selling so soon, Brendan. And I think it's also worth noting there was a lot of talk yesterday about the Clarity Act. I think a lot of people thought this act was a lot farther through the Senate process than it actually is. So I want to be clear, as I mentioned like a couple times yesterday, I watched that entire nearly 3-hour Senate Banking Committee markup. Even within that committee, there is still a lot of discrepancy. It passed 15-9, so this was not, passing with flying colors. It still has to pass through the full Senate and then through the House. So this is just honestly like the first piece here towards the Clarity Act.
So some negativity in crypto this morning, some negativity in memory stocks here this morning as well. We just made a new low, or recent low anyways, for the morning on Micron. SNDK looking similar here, back to the downside as well. Not at the lows yet, but a couple days in a row here, these things trending to the downside.
And it's interesting too, because I remember as of, I think like last week or 2 weeks ago, 4 of the 5 top names within the market for the year were Micron, SanDisk, Seagate, and Western Digital. So it was really these memory names. But I think as that story changes, we know we're also watching what's happening at Samsung here with some union concerns. So could be interesting. I think this industry, I know we've been so strong for so long. Let's see if we can hold it throughout the year, because historically that's not always been the case.
Yeah, if you zoom out, I mean, these things are still just absolute monsters. There's SNDK, of course, Micron looking very similar on a higher time frame. Neil and Joe were talking earlier about what is going to come next for this overall market. Guys, if we do get a pause, I mean, these seem to be at least in that mode already and trying to find some sort of support, maybe an area to look at.
Yeah, well, I think if the market has a pause, memory will probably not just be flat. It would be my guess. But I would put a bit of a distinction between like Micron and SanDisk. SanDisk is already off. I think, what did we say, 15% from the highs?
15% off the high.
Appreciate it. You don't want to have to double check. Well, you're not really that far yet. You've only had a couple of pullback days here on Micron, whereas you've had a little bit more on SNDK. Like this feels like it's got a little bit more room. And then remember we were talking, it was last night, well, the aftermarket show. I gotta stop saying last night as if we're chatting on the phone or something. About how you had this big wall for a potential break, right? Like you had 800 was a big wall on Micron, but there wasn't much at 810. You couldn't chew through it. Now we're gapped down. The bottom of that range is all the way down here in front of $700. So if the top consolidation shows you this is the low and we're not breaking that high, like this is a prime example of a name that even if we're just going sideways could retest that 700. And the only reason we distinguished SNDK was it just feels like SNDK had a few more, it just had a little bit more selling already. Right? Like it's sold off the entirety of the week. Like it started out on Monday at the highs and it sold off pretty much every other day. It's already done a little bit more work. I'm not saying it couldn't go further. It's just it seems like there's a clearer path on Micron. And then someone said to me, Neil, Intel's at that 110. Well, yeah, but that doesn't do a day trader any good. Like it's completely useless. Like congratulations, like this one was downtrending. I'm like, yeah, this is a flat bottom break. This is a short to 110 tomorrow. But that doesn't matter because we're already at 110. So day traders can't hold overnight. I don't get to make that trade. I've never swung a short in my life. If I'm short something, it's as a day trade, and that's about it. If I sell something in my personal account, it's only ever to sell out of a long position. And every now and then I might, sell some covered calls, and that's about as far as I'll go. But no, like you have to sort of adjust. But I would just say Micron seems like it's got some room to still go. I'm not saying it's going to flush.
I feel the same for both. I feel the same for both of them. I feel the same, like SanDisk, like that run that we went on is insane. And I mean, we're not going to say equal and opposite reaction, but at some point you're going to have a pullback a little bit deeper than what you're expecting. If we're looking at this thing was $900 or $500, sorry, at the beginning of April, right? Like that's an insane amount. That's a big time return. And then now you're down 15%. The same thing with Intel. Intel down 17% off of its high. You're a couple percentage points away from it hitting bear market territory. Is that a potential dip buy? But no, I just think that a couple of these names move too far too fast. And even with Micron, you were talking about the $800 mark on Micron. At some point, even retail is going to be like, this might be a little bit too expensive for me to buy all the way up here. And you just want to be patient and wait for levels to come into play. And I think that's the right thing to do. Chasing up at $800 and chasing up at $130 when you've just been climbing higher for a month straight, where you have a couple of red days in between. With any experience, you're just like, no, we're going to be patient on this and see if we can get some levels to come into play. You're going to do what Neil said. If you're still sitting on that cash, if you're looking to get involved on some specific levels, and you have that amount of cash, you do the cash secured puts as well too. So I mean, there's many options that you can do where you can collect money and not chase the actual stock itself. So. All right, $2 super chat. David Zhang, what's going on? Every time at all-time high, Japan, we're going to raise rates.
Speaking of raising rates, we're going to throw back to the desk in a quick little second.
This is DXY.
No, but it is worth. Well, okay, first, see the U.S. dollar index. There's a reason why silver's on my list today. Down 7%, so it's moving. SLV's moving, so that's one. But that's another. You have to keep the context in mind. Forget about June; it's useless. Every time I refresh it, I have to go back over to December of this year. Now look at what this is not what it looked like at the beginning of the week. We had a hot CPI, we had a hot PPI. In addition to that, and I don't think there was a discussion in the chat about, okay, what did or didn't get accomplished in China. The market's reacting to it relatively negatively, that there wasn't enough firm, I shouldn't say anything, but there weren't enough firm solutions or agreements that got made, and that this return meeting or the invitation to the White House is going to be in September, so pushes it back. Regardless of what you think about that, the reaction of the market was lower, and this week's reaction to rates is that we have a much higher chance that we're raising rates, because we're now sitting at 50-50. We were not at 50-50 2 days ago. So we have a 50-50 chance of rates being higher at the end of the year. That is up, and that has been trending in this direction, and that's something you can't ignore. I think it's worse for if you're one of these growth companies that literally doesn't make money and debt's a concern, throw some EV names in there, put the quantum names in there. You've got to be a little bit concerned. These guys could hit worse. I always keep pulling up Rigetti, my bad. It's just, you pull up the thing that you trade, and it's not an attempt to, because every time I've made this point, I pulled up Rigetti, and I feel bad that I'm always doing it, but you guys get the idea.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why tech can be strong in that is you chase growth in a rising rate environment, because where else are you going to go when rates are going higher? And so, but that could be a bit of a concern. We got the beer man. Hey, on a Friday, why not? It's a red day, goes up, then sell off for the day. I have a lot of short pops that I'm looking at, like short the pops that I'm looking at. Like I was already on one chart here, Rigetti. I mean, you could, if it could pull back into a prior support, or sorry, it could bounce into a prior support level. I was already thinking Intel short when we left you yesterday. Like, what was crazy to me about Intel was that one trade long on this trend break, like right here on the 15, right at the open, and then it was a chase, and then it got to 117. Like, it went it basically, call it 115 to 117, like, ooh, boom, nice scalp trade. And then that was just the range for the entirety of the day. And it couldn't go no matter what. So the flat bottom break happened. This is a short the pop to me. It's already in a downtrend. So I don't have to worry about shorting something which is an uptrend that I'm guessing is going to turn into a downtrend. Because that's what you're doing for a lot of other stocks. Like you're just, is this the start of a downtrend? This has been in a downtrend all week. S&DK has been in a downtrend all week.
Yeah, fair enough.
There are some things that have been weak, regardless of the fact that the market was pressing highs for the majority. Like every single day you've been able to dip buy and win.
Absolutely.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Unless you were trading Cerebras or a few other things.
Yeah, I mean, again, with the debt markets, you have to worry about the small caps, and I feel like this market is already slightly over-leveraged. So, I mean, at any given moment, if that does happen and you do see some interest rates continue, or the interest rate continue to rise, then I wouldn't be surprised if this market starts to freak out a little bit. But, all right, guys, almost 9 o'clock. Let's get into the rundown and send it back to the desk.
To understand this morning, if you haven't done so yet, down below in the description is the link for that. All you need is your email address. Comes right to your inbox every single morning with everything you need to know on it. And then you come join us at 8 o'clock to get you ready for the open at 9:30. CBRS popping right now. Back to that last pre-market high here, 308, 310 area. After what happened yesterday, wild open. I've seen a few IPOs. That was pretty intense. I mean, the initial halt to the upside and then halt to the downside, and then it was just selling after that.
Yeah, this is like the first NASDAQ IPO that I've truthfully ever been involved in. It's a pretty wild one. We literally, I think there were like 4 15-second candles before the whole thing halted for the first time. So it was quite a wild move. In terms of background here for the company, they are in the same space as Nvidia. And it's interesting, too, because Wall Street Journal actually wrote an article this morning comparing them negatively to Nvidia, saying that they're trading at way more, I guess, a higher price to earnings ratio, even though Nvidia's business is a lot better and they're making much more than Cerebras. We were expecting that IPO range between 150 and 160. That was raised significantly, of course, priced at 185, and as Brendan mentioned, open at 350. So quite inflated. Offer amount here wrote $5.5 billion. Shares offered 30 million shares. And as of the close, Brendan, this company market cap $95 billion.
Crazy.
So pretty massive here for Cerebras.
Yeah, biggest one since Uber. I was reading this morning as well, which has been a while. 2018, 2019, something like that. Back above 300, which is key. It's held twice here in the pre-market, guys, for CBRS.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about what Michael Knotts was going on or bringing us this morning, well, I think I expect this to sell off a little bit in the coming days, coming weeks, right? So I'm not going to get too giddy about it too fast. Sam Altman involved with this name. So, I mean, I was listening to the CNBC bit yesterday, and just I think it was Brad Gerstner on there, and they were talking about inference in between Cerebras and Cerebras, whatever you like to call it, and Nvidia, and their acquisition of Grok, right?
Yes.
So I mean, there's competition. This is supposed to be a direct competitor. I'm just gonna let it cool off. We're double since the initial offering price, right? From 185 all the way up to $400. Now you're at $300. So you're still sitting up relatively high. I'm gonna be patient on this one and let it cool off.
I will tell you this. I was given the example of ARM, how like when ARM dipped a little bit and then took out a prior high, that was a good entry point. I don't know how I'll feel about like this dips a little bit and then it breaking back that 385. That's going to be a good later. That's going to be hard. That's a hard row to hoe. I 100% believe that. Oh, I went to Robinhood, but I 100% believe that with ARM back in the day. But it was just a totally you can't even see it was so good you can't even see it on that far back a time frame. Like it's so different. Like ARM opened 60, made a high at like 69, or in the 60 or in the 50s, made a high at 69, pulled back. When it was eventually breaking out that prior high a couple months later, like you were talking about 69 break with a low of 47. That's all reasonable stuff. Like it wouldn't be crazy to me if this thing dips into the 200s. And like, am I gonna like it all the way back at the top? Anyways, for today, 300 broke in the pre-market, so there's really not, like it was clean 300 on the break. I won't rehash the trade. It basically came down to, I'm gonna be real with you, how fast were you? Because it basically instantly halted to the upside. So it was, you took the opening print and how quickly and how much did you get out at the top? And then did you elect to take a big chunk out when it reopened and then made the lower high? If answer yes, you made a boatload on the trade. If answer no, you didn't, then maybe you broke even. And if you didn't sell anything, you lost. That was the IPO trade. How fast could you be and how decisive that you wanted to sell? And if you held anything, there was crazy slippage. Like I told everyone I was displeased because I did elect to hold more. Like I took the profit, but then did elect to hold some for that slippage, which it's just stupid. It was really inefficient trading. So yeah, it was really, really big. It was great and it made money, but it was inefficient. It should have been so much better. For today, I'm thinking short. You can't see it now, but when this broke, there was a liquidity zone at about 34.2 on the way downside when 350 went. That ended up being resistance again, so I like that level. I don't know if we see it. I also like this 325 area from the afternoon where it broke the trend. So I'm going to look to short pops and trend breaks in this. If it does anything resembling this and I get a trend short, I'm shorting it. Maybe it's a long today, but if it trends up, I'm just going to wait for a trend to break and look short. I'm just feeling short on Cerebras today. It's going to be trying to find a short. I paid for locates on this as well. They were not free. They did jump up a little bit. It's more expensive to short today than it was yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Which isn't always the case with an IPO. It's usually the opposite.
Someone asked about options for CBRS. Not yet, guys. It's not. Yeah, I mean,
How long
was
is
just
it
released.
usually?
I don't. that answer I couldn't even give you. Right? Like think about it. IBIT when that first came to market, it was about a year or so until. Right, because it came in March.
IPOs are faster, but I don't remember how.
Yeah, oh well. All right. Yeah, that's how we feel about CBRS, guys. Let's send it back to the desk.
All right, seeing as how they are
really
on the
know
rundown this morning, shout out to our friends over at Gemini. This segment and portion of the show brought to you by Gemini. I think you know where Bitcoin closes this week, who wins the 2028 election, where the GDP lands. Stop arguing, start trading. Gemini predictions, yes or no markets on crypto, commodities, politics, sports, and more. Now featuring 15-minute and 5-minute crypto markets so you can trade the action in real time. Set your amount, set your odds, get paid when you are right. Open an account at Gemini.com. Scan the QR code, bottom right corner of the screen right now. Shout out to our friends over at Gemini. I don't know if we've ever had a sponsor actually on the rundown because of legitimate reasons.
I don't think so either. So go Gemini.
Yeah, Gemini up huge this morning. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes here, but let's get to Microsoft. You just showed me that post that Ackman put up on X late yesterday, essentially saying in their 13F, you will see a huge, massive Microsoft position. Ta-da!
Yeah, but it's funny too, Brendan, because you said late last night. I just checked the timing on it because I was curious. It was actually 4:40 a.m. today. So he just woke up and posted this big, long message. But basically, to make an incredibly long story, and I'll just show you guys how long this story is, to make it short, basically he's just saying that investors are not tolerant of volatility. There's increasing ownership of indexes. We're going to take control of this like we did with Google, Amazon, and Meta, and we're going to buy some Microsoft, or rather they already did buy some Microsoft. As Brendan mentioned, it's interesting. You have to wonder when this is going to come out. And I remember in the past, Pershing Square 13Fs have come out around 12:30, so I would keep an eye on that. Just from my memory, I would be watching Microsoft during the midday. He also said PSUS also has made Microsoft a quote core holding, but they're not going to be even having a 13F, so we're going to have to wait and see there. Let's see. I want to know how big this holding is, Brendan. I want to know the context of this. But yeah, either way, we understand why he bought it. I want to understand the extent of this within his portfolio now.
Interesting read, regardless, for anybody who wants to go check that out. Microsoft had a decent move here back to 413, 414, I guess, coming back into 410 right now, but heading in the right direction, finally, for Microsoft, guys.
What's Joe's chart first?
Yeah. I mean, this is what we're looking at here at Microsoft, and we've been talking about it for quite some time. I mean, who do we have? Nvidia, Google, Apple, and then what we got sitting in that 4 slot, Microsoft, from a market cap standpoint. Right? At some point, this name that's just been getting beat up as of late and maybe a little bit cheap compared to everything else, are we going to see a rotation out of what has been climbing higher into some of these laggers like Microsoft and the Metas? But as to Neil's point, we're still down 26%. We're still down 26%, and we have all of the other the names above it are hitting all-time highs, right? Just adding to the market cap. But I like what you were pointing out here, Neil, and you had multiple names that we're going to go through, and there's a couple more that we can use this correlation with. Is that, look at this CrowdStrike trend line break, right? We were talking about this. Oh, guess what? CrowdStrike's at an all-time high that hit yesterday. And the same thing with Netflix. Netflix hasn't been performing that well, but once that trend broke, off to the races it goes. So maybe that's going to be the next thing for Microsoft. We see a rotation out of some of the memory plays, the chip plays, and then we head into the software game once again, and we start buying up Microsoft because it's been lagging the rest of its peers.
You know what I like? What I like even more about it is the fact that if you put the same analysis on the IGV, like the software ETF, it's already broken. If you do a trend from the high, and which connects really well, we broke that and are consolidating above it. So there's I could even do this too. I didn't realize that. Like, you can go prior resistance at the bottom end of the range, and then you can break the trend, and then that resistance is turning into support. So that's already happening in the IGV. So names like Microsoft and Palantir, which the argument I would make as to why these components haven't broken their downtrends yet is they didn't fall in the same manner in which a lot of, like, all the worst stuff was happening to, like, ServiceNow, and yeah, you guys know the name that were getting beaten up the most, right? Like the Trade Desk and all that ish. CRM, right? Like, there was a lot of worse things that didn't hold on to some prior support levels. Microsoft did, Palantir did, so they have yet to break. And that doesn't mean, like, this is not breaking today. Palantir is not breaking this trend today. I mean, it's probably not, it's not breaking that trend today. I shouldn't speak in complete certainties. Whoops. What is MSFT34.BZ? There's a Microsoft, you can trade Microsoft on the Brazil exchange.
Okay.
Apparently, I don't know why you'd want to.
It?
It's in the database. It's 86 Brazilian real.
Maybe there you go.
I don't know why you'd want to, but heck, I just keystroke to it so it exists. I didn't even realize that. But anyways, the Microsoft trend break probably doesn't break either. But this is exactly what would be appealing for next week. I like that we're at this spot. The market decides to pull back, and you get new things breaking out. I've had the eye on Palantir for that break, maybe more so than Microsoft, but it fits right into that bill as well. And whether or not, like, to me, it doesn't really matter if who is buying it and who likes it. It just helps if you've got some rich people who are influential and smart that also believe in the name as well. But I just like these trend breaks here, specifically those two.
Absolutely. All right, let's send it back.
I saw a couple people mentioning this. I forgot to mention that CBRS. The next day, there's obviously has to be a 2 times leveraged ETF already. So CBRG for anyone who wants to partake in even more shenanigans and nonsensical price action today. Let's talk about Nvidia. Back to session lows right now. Let's be honest, there was wildly high expectations for this Xi-Trump summit and deal making or potential deal making to come from it. If there have been deals made, there's very little details released as of yet. You're seeing the price action with Nvidia specifically echoing that. Trump on Air Force One early this morning essentially saying that it's China selecting not to buy the H200s, not that he has not allowed them to be sold.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too, Brendan, because it actually contradicts things that Trump said earlier today and also comments that were made by his trade representative, Jameson Greer. So Greer basically said that Nvidia chips were actually not a significant topic of discussion, while Trump earlier in the day said that they didn't even come up at all. So you kind of have to wonder what's necessarily happening here. But it's interesting, on the topic of broader deal making, Brendan, there were 17 companies represented at this summit. We've only heard about deals for 2 of them, and those deals not even confirmed yet, to my knowledge, just mentioned by Trump. Those would be Boeing and GE, neither stock reacting positively to these deals, because as you mentioned with Boeing, a little bit less than what we were expecting. So interesting look here. Yeah,
I mean, still massive. You zoom out on Nvidia, massive run up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 7 weeks straight to the upside, guys. A little bit of profit taking here.
Yeah, the streak that Nvidia has been on is threatening to break. What's going on, 15-minute? By the way, just I put this in the chat, but I'm going to say it out loud too. What are we even doing that Cerebras has a 2x leveraged ETF on day 2? On day 2, like already? I know. Look, I don't have anything against like these products. Crazy opportunities here at Real Trading. If you looked at the top 10 by volume on a given month and that people trade on the .am, it's going to be almost all these levered products. So I'm not harping on them. It's great. They're great for day traders. It's just a bit weird. Like the thing was just crashing all day, and there's already a 2x leverage ETF on day 2 that's going to trade. But Nvidia has been on a tear where you didn't threaten to break the prior day low. Like there's your downward move, there's your breakout into the gap. And every single day, nowhere close to the prior low, nowhere close to the prior low. Threatens the prior day low and ramp job. Threatens the prior day low and holds. Even on the weakest day that it had, it couldn't break the prior day low. Well, today, it looks like we break that streak. If we can't hold on at 229 off the open and never get back there today, then you've broken the streak. That's the line I'm looking at. You've already got a trend down. There is a potential like 930, like right away we're breaking and holding above on that trend. But if we can't hold it, you do figure we're going to the 25 to 26 level. This is one where it's underneath the support that I want, so I can't be long at it. Can't be long it early, but it's the one that I want to give a chance to try to hold. And it's a tricky thing because it is like one day off of the highs, and if we lose this, it's probably going to fill that gap. So we'll see. At 925, we'll maybe get some imbalances. If it looks like it's trying to hold, there is a range in here for the long. Most of everything else I'm looking at is like silver, short the pop, Cerebras, short the pop, Intel, short the pop. This is the one where I'm not really in that mode.
To short the pop. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're heading towards some support levels at 228. I mean, I'm completely fine with this. Why? Because I'm just going to buy more if it continues to sell. It's literally that simple. I'm going to buy more. I was listening to a lot of stuff on this name. We're not even including China sales in it yet, so we may never will, right? But at the end of the day, we had that rotation out of AMD and some of the other chip names, and then you've seen this, the king. Everybody's like, all right, everybody forgot about Nvidia. It goes on a substantial run, breaking that $200 marker, continuing to climb, puts in a high of around 238 this morning, $10 off of that level here today. So other than that, if we do enter this gap, I think we can fill it. There might be a little bit of a fade, or it might just be a gap and go scenario. This is the blue ocean trading, right? You open up at 237 in blue ocean, you sell, and then you open up this morning at 233, and then you continue to slide a little bit, another $5 or so. But other than that, I'm going to be buying the dip on this one. The deeper the pullback, the better for me, because you get a better average price, and I just wasn't willing to chase it. Leading into the earnings report, we've seen a lot of strength. We looked at the options chain on multiple occasions to see if we have the ability to climb north of 235. We've already done that. So any form of a pullback, I think buyers step right back in here on NVDA. All right, let's send it back to the desk.
Some FIG here, 22 holding very, very nicely as some support for Figma early on this morning. I mean, a really, really good report here, better than expected, right across the board, including what's to come.
Yeah, I think with Figma, like I really didn't see any misses here. And if you look, this is now, they've reported now 4 quarters worth of earnings. You're just consistently seeing growth on a sequential and a year-over-year basis for FIG. In terms of the actual numbers here, revenue, $333.4 million. That's going to be beating estimates of $313.2. Adjusted EPS, 10 cents, above estimates of 6 cents. Now, as you mentioned here, in terms of the guidance, you've got fiscal 2026 revenue guidance, $1.422 billion to $1.428 billion. That's going to beat estimates of $1.36 billion, and also representing here an increase from their prior guidance. They also projected Q2 26 revenue between $348 million and $350 million, above estimates of $327 million. So good look here for Figma, I think, across the board, as Brendan alluded to. But I think really the guidance being stronger than expected, probably the thing that really pushes them over the edge. Another
one, let's be honest, that got caught up in the downturn of software. Here's, what is this, March or February even? You got to go back to that February low, guys. We're right back to that point now. It really needs to get above if we're going to get any kind of follow through.
Yeah, I agree. Like my brain was telling me that Redwire would have been better as like something that's gapping higher, but then the price action is saying Fig. By the way, I was just telling Joe, Fig Newtons back, there's nothing to do with Fig, but Fig Newtons back in the day, I could crush a whole sleeve of those. I can't believe you never tried. And I didn't have a proper like Fig-based cookie until I was an adult and realized, oh, like this is supposed to be like way better. Like Fig Newtons aren't even all that good. Because like the stuff that you think is really great when you're a kid because you've had like all this generic package, blah, blah, blah.
And
then you have like the real. I know this seems weird, but yeah, like I had like a first real good fig cookie probably in like after university. I'm like, what? Even like something as simple as like a proper like apple fritter from a fair. I'm like, what the heck?
Okay.
Oh, this stuff is just different. Anyways, Fig's got a chance today. I think we got to give it a chance. And I'm not here to tell you that I particularly love the company or the business. I can tell you this was one unbelievable IPO trade that was a prime example of the difference between trading an IPO on day one to the long side and thinking that it is a buy. So you keep that in mind when you consider Cerebras. But that 50 period in this 21, it's about 21 and a third. 21 quarter, 21 and a third, right? Prior support to resistance, now the 50 period moving average. It gives you a pretty good line in the sand. It's this prior high here on the 15 minute. This dips, like there's not much else I love for an opportunity long. Like this just ends up on the list. The only downside is, well, at 8:30 we already bounced off of this area. You already bounced off of this area and went almost a full buck. And sometimes I don't like these kind of things when the trade has happened in the pre-market. So I was making my list this morning. It's like, sort of refining it. I don't know how much I'm going to love this one. It'll probably end up not in the top 4 of what I only have 4 charts up. If you see my thing, like I'm actively looking at 4 things, generally speaking, usually 3 or 4. And I can move on to other things. But at 9:30, if you're not on that group, then I'm probably not taking a trade in the first 5 or 10 minutes. And I feel like Fig got pushed for me a little bit there. And then one name that we're not going to talk about that is on that list is SLV. So I got to throw it in now because silver is like getting moked. Every single like for most of this upward move, I've been coming in looking for longs on silver. That's a huge reversal SLV put in yesterday. There's your top, big time reversal. Like Intel, it gapped all the way through the flat bottom break, so that's completely unavailable. But it gapped so far that it pulled through another support level as well, which gives me 72.5. I'm fading any pop as long as it ain't breaking that. And even if it does, I'd probably fade it at 75 anyways. So I'm looking silver for the short. It's down 7.5%, so I want to be shorting pops in this as opposed to, I don't think I'll be fighting Fig.
No, I don't think so either. I like it a lot here. We're up 10 and a third, guys. Adding 54% paid customers year over year, so not too bad. But if we're going to be talking about IPOs, down 85% off of that mark.
Yuck.
Yeah, I mean, hey. You open up at $85. You are fortunate enough to climb $100 to $142, but then, unfortunately, you don't want to be this liquidity trap because we've seen it in other names, the Robinhoods, with the exception of CoreWeave and a couple other ones. They tend to sell and they sell for quite some time. August of 25, you're a couple months away to the point where it's been a year in a year downtrend. So it's been a tough look within Fig. Other than that, guys, I like it at 9% higher, almost 10% here, continuing to climb. Any form of a pullback, we're going to get rocking and rolling on this name. Someone asked about options pricing in the pre-market. You're not going to be able to get that. It's going to be yesterday's quotes. You got to wait until 9:30 in order for that to open up. But other than that, AI monetization really starting to kick in. Margin pressure here within the name, but I think they're going to be able to offset that with some of the tools that they're going to be implementing. So yeah, not too bad of a look here. I like Fig, and we might even like the next name a little bit more, guys.
Just reading this note on Starbucks, worth noting, it didn't move on this, but 300 layoffs announced here by Starbucks. The first under Brian Nickel, which is, I mean, not a lot, I guess, overall, but $400 million in restructuring, one-off charge, $400 million in restructuring as they, quote unquote, reevaluate their office space and needs for that. It's worth noting as well that no in-store retail employees were affected. It was all on the corporate side of things. So again, Starbucks didn't really move on that, but a note. Anyways, there was also an upgrade today for Starbucks. So again, not really moving around here too much in the pre-market. As we said, our friends over at Gemini having a pretty good morning this morning after what was a good report.
Yeah, great morning here. I actually have their own earnings up so you guys can kind of see it here. Revenue growing by 42% year over year to $50 million, Brendan. Transaction revenue basically flat here year over year, but services revenue and interest income up 122%, credit card revenue up a whopping 292%. Tons here, like just across the board for the most part here, year-over-year growth for GEMI. But I think maybe the bigger story here is not necessarily the earnings, Brendan. It's this $100 million investment from Winklevoss Capital. They're going to be investing here at $14 a share, and apparently they're going to be using this investment, which is funded by Bitcoin, to support their liquidity, develop some products, and a strategic initiative. So we'll have to wait and see what that entails. But good look here across the board for GEMI.
Conveniently, there's a QR code on the screen right now. It's totally unrelated, but Gemini, sponsor of the show as well. Go check out Gemini, guys. Thoughts here for today?
It's doing greater than relative volume pre-market up 30%. So this chart, like just think the Figma chart too, right? Like you've got to remember, like this is at a long consolidated bottom after getting smoked. And really, it's actually moved more. Like the difference between this and Figma, I should make this distinction because these are different in one important way. If you look at Figma, like it's pulling back and trying to break this lower high resistance, 50 period, all that stuff. Whereas if you look at Gemini from a technical standpoint, like the breakout happened, and this is more continuation. Right, like you're continuing above that breakout level. If it were to pull back into the breakout level, you're talking about it all the way back into the 5 to 5.25 range. So this just needs to be at VWAP and holding, but it's very, very like what's the word? Choppy and going all ham in the pre-market up. So I don't want to be in this. I wouldn't even think for me. Like I don't love these ones when you're trying to look at some of like the bigger cap names. If you're trading this, you're probably only trading this and one other gapper. Yeah, it's the way I would look at it. Because I found like when you get these like little trend breaks, which one was it the other day where there was a trend break almost right at the open, and to get any kind of a reasonable price, you had to be in it.
It was Nvidia.
Staring it down. It wasn't Nvidia. No, there was a small capper.
There was another one. Oh yeah. It wasn't BTI or not BTIG.
I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, I remember which one we were both looking at it.
The point was like you can't. Like it wasn't a have 3 or 4 charts up situation and be able to try to get it when the buyers came in at VWAP. It was either this is what you were staring down in the tape, or it was not. And for me, it's not going to be. But I think it's a stronger daily chart than what Figma's is the best way to look at it. We're past a 925 here, and I did not give you guys the early look, and there's a couple of names in here. Rivian is a 4.7 million sell imbalance here. Remember, it is a Friday, right? So OPEX, you will have bigger imbalances. Nvidia just popped a bit on a 2 million buy imbalance. Apple with a 1.2 million buy imbalance. Amazon with a 700,000 buy imbalance. Does anyone care about Grab? 700,000. Microsoft's a buy of 500,000. Walmart's a buy of 460,000. You might notice a theme where we had a bunch of buy balance. Alphabet 400,000 buy imbalance. Broadcom 400,000. IBIT sell 350. But mostly buy imbalance, with the notable exception of whatever's going on with Rivian. So Rivian on that sell imbalance, it did drop into the low and then immediately bounce. Watch out for that. Rivian did this. Rivian had this happen. It was sometime in the last month and a half. I don't remember exactly the date or anything like that, but there was a big imbalance and ended up going the other way at the open because it just immediately paired. And it looks like it's trying to do the same thing. There's no news that I know of on Rivian, just that imbalance. Timothy Doolittle, thoughts on Microsoft options a couple months out? That's all you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good play. Maybe even a little bit more than a couple of months. Talking about it, who was it that we were just talking about saying they're going to be buying this stuff up here? So, I mean, at some point, I think this is what you want to wait for. As soon as you open up on the backside of this $420 mark, I think it's a good time to get rocking and rolling here in Microsoft. This name's been getting beat up for quite some time. Game plan here for today, guys. We got Coinbase on our mind. Tesla breaking through the volume-weighted average price, surprisingly. So we tried Coinbase a couple of times earlier in the week, I believe it was. Didn't work out for us here today, so maybe we avoid that. But we got FIG, we have IBIT for a breakthrough the volume-weighted average price, and NVDA slowly starting to climb, bouncing off of that 228 support level. So let's rock and roll, man. It's going to be a good one here today, regardless of what happens. We're prepared. Mike Peter Ryder is prepared. We have Jesse Martinez, Gorav Los Polios in the chat. Big 49 nephew. He's ready to rock and roll. Lemon's family, Hangry wife. I haven't seen them in the chat. Hangry, I didn't forget about you. Don't forget. And then Pops Mafia also getting ready to go. JL looking at Palantir. Yo, what's up, Dave? Everybody's ready to rock and roll on this Friday.
Including the beer man.
Including the beer and Cisco consolidation, second day breakout up today. What do we think about Cisco here? I mean, CS. I don't know how I feel about
So honestly,
Cisco,
with 1 minute to go, I always prefer the consolidations on a post-earnings play to confirm a level, not just to consolidate that day, because you can say that bottom consolidated 114, so I can say it consolidated 112. But when it holds something after earnings for like a couple of days, like that double bottom, that's generally what I'll like a little bit more. But you're getting those buy imbalances across the board have caused a bit of a market spike in here. A lot of it's paired off, so you can see here, Rivian paired off, which is what you'd expect going into the open, and that's why the Qs are popping in here. So if you're looking for, if the things that I'm looking for the fade on actually are not popping. So I'm kind of relatively weak on SLV here. I was thinking the 72.5, but if we don't get anywhere there, there's always VWAP. Intel's going to be on watch for me. Nvidia, of course, at the open. Looks like it wants to be above that 229. So let's ring the bell for the final time this week. It's been a wild one.
It's been a while.
I mean, that's a bit of an understatement to say it's been a bit of a wild week. And immediately, the Nasdaq went right to VWAP and then pulled back. And Nvidia did the exact same thing. CRBS, sorry, all day yesterday and today too. CBRS, because it's Cerebras. I want to say the R first. Already breaking those lows. So no chance at a pop and fade yet in CBRS, Cerebras.
There goes Fig.
Good IPO, but
oh wow, Fig real volatile here, Neil. Pops up into 2260, tanks down to 2180. So we're gonna let things cool down a little bit here, guys. But some things showing out here. Maybe we can pull back into the volume weighted average price on IBIT. We're gonna be keeping an eye on that. Coinbase taking an additional leg lower. Tesla breaks through now, but now absolutely sliding here. And we have Nvidia heading back towards the downside. Is it going to be a sell-off Friday? Let's be patient and wait for things to come into play here for us, guys.
For that.
Is it? What is it?
Usually
Free Fall Friday?
Free Fall Friday.
Right?
I didn't coin it. I'm trying to remember whose term that was on the show. Actually, yeah, I think it was Prad that came up with that one.
Okay.
But yeah, we're not getting the pop. The Nasdaq gave that pop, but we didn't actually do that for SLV, so that'll be the first one. CBRS just continues to fall. Tag that low at 290. I don't want to be in this one too early. If I was thinking somewhere up here or off the pre-market highs, I don't know if I want to take that low break. 290 breakdown. That might be, I might take a stab at that. I might, because really, if you're day two, it's an all-time low. And remember, there's apparently, I didn't know this until Brennan said it, there's a 2x leveraged.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Product here. I forget what it was. I think it's CBRG, which I haven't called up.
Yeah, which is mad.
And doesn't look like there's a ton of liquidity on it, and I didn't pay for locates, so I'm not going to be trading it because I guarantee you that I have to pay for locates, and I've already paid for locates here on CBRS. So if it breaks to 290, I'll take that shot at a breakdown trade. Otherwise, I'm waiting to short the pop here in day two of this IPO.
Yeah, there goes Fig. I mean, we're looking at Tesla for a potential long here. I almost went Fig, but let's see if this level holds up at 430, and maybe we can get a break through the volume-weighted average price. If this 1 minute candle breaks, then I want no part of it, but let's get prepared. Yeah, so there it goes, guys. The market continuing its slide. No rebound just yet, so those dip buys aren't going to come into play as quick as we thought they were. Market's still hovering around VWAP. I don't want to talk about Fig too much, and Bitcoin not finding any footing yet. So, what was it? I didn't completely hear what. So, MicroStrategy looking to sell some of its Bitcoin.
They announced the possibility of that last week.
They're now open to doing it. That's all.
Wow. Okay,
yeah, they're open to now changing their policy where they would
sell it.
They didn't say that they would outright sell, but they said that they are now willing to do so.
Willing to do so. Okay, so what does that mean? Like at some point, didn't he already report like a crazy net loss last quarter? So what are you going to do? Sell everything at a net loss, or what?
I don't know if I'd go that far. We have Peter Hopf. ONDS rejected 11.6 again. Good morning, Joe Neal. Good morning. I'd pull it up, but I've got a second look here. I might take 2 shots because I just found this on SLV. So where it turned at the open, can I zoom in and just let you see this better? So if you look at the support channel that it had, that's turning into resistance. So if I'm going to take something off the open, instead of waiting for it to test that trend, I'm going to try and short this one off of this one here on SLV. I'm bearish until proven otherwise on this. So perfectly fine. Like none of the things that I would even consider for the, like Bitcoin's not near where I would want it for a dip buy, so I don't think that'll be in that one anytime soon. But yeah, an early look here on SLV. Still no breakdown on Cerebras. Nvidia is breaking lower. The market's looking pretty weak. But if 290 goes, or I get this on trend, the first 2 trades are going to be short.
Netflix is going.
Down?
Netflix up, right? Market move down, Netflix go up.
Really?
Market move up, Netflix go down. So, do they realize their mistake now? Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but hey.
I don't know that that's the reason they're doing it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think, he bought some a couple of weeks ago. I don't think that's going to be the narrative. No. Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure when I read that it's like they're, to the extent that MicroStrategy does sell, it will be with the intention on still buying more.
Hopefully at a lower price.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not hopefully, but I guess maybe with the intention to do so. Fig breaking through VWAP now, 22.18. That level breaking in. This thing's a little volatile here, guys, this morning. No bottom found yet on Tesla or on Bitcoin, which we have our eyes on. So we don't want to jump on anything too early here. Maybe we get some form of a pullback here on Tesla. We can take a swing on that one. But we want to be more precise here on this Friday. And see, there it goes, 1560, starting to find somewhat of a curl over on TSLA. Yeah, you know what? We may as well. Let's get involved here. We're going to get in our break of the low of the day, 1550. So we do have this to give this a little bit more risk than what we want. But with that being said, there's more reward for us here on this potential trade, especially if we have the ability and we're fortunate enough to climb back towards the volume weighted average price. So let's go Tesla. It breaks the LOD. Then we're at a Doge on this boy.
Yeah, and by the way, Bitcoin did break 80,000.
Yeah.
My apologies. If I don't have the chart up, I have this, and if it's not, it didn't refresh. I actually just refreshed it. We're underneath 80,000, so we are headed lower and into some prior support. I don't know if you guys, if you hear the sound, then apologies. If you don't, then that's great. Only in SLV here is I'm looking for the low of day as long as it holds that trend line, but got to acknowledge what's going on here. Bitcoin is, I don't want to say free fall, but we're in a bit of a tank. And yesterday's low we're about to hit off the open, which was exactly that 45. Like that's a kind of mean reversion spot. I thought I'd only be looking short early, but it is what it is. You know, this is already starting to put in a bit of a reversion here. I took one leg out of SLV halfway to the low. Still nothing on CBRS. Just because it was a big IPO yesterday doesn't mean it has to go absolutely ham today. Either we break down or I wait for it to make some kind of a big uptrend to fade. I do intend on trading it today, but inside move here for CBRS. And then one last one for you. Nvidia can't hold that 229. Couldn't hold the 229 level. There was a lot of patience required. Like, remember that uptrend, like this little wedge break was like the money entry on Nvidia, and that was at about 10.12. Like all of this chop for there to be a money entry at 10.12. on Nvidia. So I'm not rushing into it.
Yeah, I'm just going to buy more.
Just going to wait for the reloads on SLV, stick with this trend as long as it can hold, and wait for Cerebras to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry guys about that drilling. IBIT just continuing to slide here, man. I'm glad that I sold a bunch of it. I mean, I reduced my position by half. I don't see, the thing is though, even though as unpopular as the asset may be right now, I don't want to unload it. I'm slightly ITM. I do believe that we might be able to get more in at a lower price, but when it's beaten down and no one's really talking about, no one's really in love with it, we're getting prepared to get out of this Tesla trade. I got my eyes on Fig for a potential move here as well too, guys. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. There goes Tesla breaking the low of the day. We'll hop out of that one. I think we're going to continue to slide lower as the market is really bleeding. Coinbase can't find its footing. We're talking about Nvidia continuing to slide, and there it goes. What a good out there. You got to get out when you're supposed to and when you plan on doing so. We'll keep our eye on Figma, up 7% here today. So that's unfortunate. But as for Bitcoin, we still have another, we just have another year or so before I think it starts to gain a little bit of ground. it just didn't go. I knew something was fishy and sketchy, and I forget who I was talking to. Someone who used to be in the chat. I haven't seen them in a while. I can't remember their name. Anyways, I was just like, hey, listen, back when it hit that $126,000 marker and it just didn't really explode, I'm like, something's fishy up here. And sure enough, we've been selling ever since that point. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's just really garbage that it's not climbing and we're not at that $250,000. I remember Tom Lee and all the analysts when we were breaking out IBIT comes to market, we're like 250,000, such and such, but you didn't even get to half of that really. You just got over a little bit half of that, but other than that, good out there on Tesla, Neil. We're looking at FIG as it's breaking through the volume weighted average price now.
Well, so the Nasdaq's at the low. SLV's right at that low. The Nasdaq's right on the bottom. Nvidia's trying to catch a bid, 226, but just go back not to yesterday, but to 2 mornings ago. This is the Nasdaq bottom here that was able to hold. And yeah, it looks like we're trying to hold the low of the day. If it's a scalp here, I'm in at the B level, not the A level on SLV here. Just a note, like the A level would have been this top trend, or like 72.5, but we're not going to get that. So I'm going to short the pops. We're able to get the move I wanted on like the tire trade where I was shorting. I don't like short at the lows on a Friday morning, to be honest with you. The same way I don't like buying the highs as well. So we'll just continue with this trend. Pop up, continue to short it, and CBRS is going to break. And the decision I'm making right now is, do I only want to, only 1 day trade, you don't have to zoom out very far. Do I only want to take the break of the low of the day, or do I want to try to get involved in this short a little bit earlier? And I'm leaning toward the latter, that I don't want to wait for this to break the low. I expect there's going to be a ton of slippage. So if I can get a little bit in off of VWAP, and then it becomes a potential maybe add down here, it'd be a little bit easier to make that trade. And then as I say that, it's already catching a bit of a bid here on CBRS. Yeah, a little bit. It could be early. The spread's not bad. The spread's actually underneath $1, but I've seen it open up randomly when it gets through a key price. Like above 300, it was a little bit of a wider spread. So just want to be careful there. I haven't traded Intel. Intel bounced off 107. If this holds under VWAP, it never really popped to give you a short. I might take the shot at this one at the volume weighted average price. Let's go to Adara.
Beware of Qualcomm here, guys. Just seeing comments from China's commerce minister saying they met with the CEO of Qualcomm, Cristiano Amon, who's part of the delegation. Back to you.
Oh, thanks, Adara. I was actually just asking Joe how Gemini was doing because I haven't looked at it. I have other names on the list. Wow, already back at the lows?
Is it?
No, Intel.
Oh, Intel?
Like it was just at VWAP. Thanks, Rob.
Oh, nice.
It was just at VWAP a second ago. Went to try to grab that one. Look at it fly.
Oh, let's go.
Like it just popped like 70 pennies, not picking me up. Can't get filled, can't get filled. Just pop in, pick me up, and see if we can get back into the low of the day there. Figma's going?
Yeah, we got this Figma breakout through the volume weighted average price. Yeah, we were waiting for this. So there it goes, man. A nice little pop in Fig for us here, guys. A big time move. I have half the position on what I had on Tesla, but we held it for triple the amount what we were looking for. So not too bad. You can see that it's continuing to climb here. We'll take some more off at that peak. Now sitting on half of it right now to see if we're going to get a continuation into $23, $21.88. Now printing 22.47s. So we'll take that one. Not a bad look. Nice. It's a NYSE name, rejecting the pre-market highs pretty aggressively here, though, Neil. So, yeah, we'll be patient to see if we can get a little bit more of an extended move. If not, the market is really bleeding here. Coin selling, IBIT just... It's falling off a cliff at this point, and then we have maybe Tesla starting to find somewhat of a bottom, but right back into VWAP. Rejecting the pre-market high is FIG, so we should have took a little bit more off, sitting on half of the position. If we get stopped out break even, then it is what it is.
Oh, I just checked out Gemini for myself. Yeah. It does have this wedge forming.
There it goes. Wow.
This is sort of what you're looking for oftentimes. Well, you're looking for it to break up. Most people like stocks when they go up, especially if they're gapped up. This cuts in both ways. See how the body of all of these candles is inside of the lower highs and the higher lows? Loses it or gains it, I think you just played in that direction. I actually probably could only go long because I don't think we even have locates on this. Nope, I haven't paid for shorts, so even if I wanted to, that breaks down, I'm not shorting it. I would only look for it in the other direction. Intel's still bouncing off of some of those lows, so it ended up getting the silver scalp trade, but did not get any short on Intel off the open. But as long as we're bouncing, we have a chance to pull into this view up. This candle, missed the fill, cancel the order, let it come back up there again, and then try to take it a second time. And then CBRS. Is it really? It's still dancing. Can't really decide what it wants to do at this volume weighted average price. The spread just keeps opening up to $1 every time it breaks. Then they'll tighten it up a bit. I'd say nothing burger. Might have to wait for the opening range on this to get a bit more clear sense of direction. SLV continues to go down. Any retest of the trend, just going to reshort that one for sure. And for the rest of this market, I've only really looked at, for myself, for you guys, Intel and Nvidia. AMD much stronger. Well, okay, it's down 3.7%, but off of the lows, much better than Nvidia. That's what I want to get at. Off the lows, much better than Nvidia. Nvidia couldn't hold 229, so that was a no-go for any kind of a long for myself. And the way I see AMD going, I might have to shift which one of these I would even try to take into the long side of the trade. I believe we are going back to Adair in a quick little second. I keep looking up because I don't want to miss CBRS. And I do have an order. Like if this flashes down, I'm short if it breaks 290, so I can't really get away from this. But we'll go back up to the desk. Adair's got an update for us.
It's probably the strongest stock I've seen so far today, guys. Visa to the upside. We're also getting comments from the Chinese commerce minister saying they met with the CEO of Visa as well. So again, Visa and Qualcomm CEOs both apparently meeting with the commerce minister of China during that trip. Back to you.
Why won't you move, Cerebras? Well, I can't tell you that I would have expected, if you had this on your bingo card as one of the strongest stocks off of the open, then congratulations to you. I most certainly did not. At all. And Gemini refuses to move as well. Like, I'd say this is a little bit disappointing on Gemi, because it's everything for this trend break setup is there, with the exception of sellers losing control. And again, if you can hear that noise, apologies. It sounds like they're like snaking the pipes, which like happening like right over my head. Hopefully it's not that bad. We have pretty good microphones around here. But if we're not breaking this, I don't really see too much of a trade in Gemi unless you want to head to the downside with it. I need to find a short trade after that silver quick one. SMCI is always a possibility, but look at that. You don't want any part of that. Intel just broke the low of the day, so couldn't get the short pop there. AMD is right back on some of those bottoms. Nvidia, kind of the same thing. Yeah, there's nothing that looks any good. iBit, whoops, that's Blue Ocean. Bitcoin still at 70, underneath 80 at 79,000 and still cratering. So the relative strength that was even in Bitcoin, not there at all. Remember we were saying like the last few days, if you think about where the market for the dip buyers out there has been any good, it's been a lot of patience required. Like yesterday, we just ran, and then there was one dip, and then you're good to go. We pressed further the day before, and we pressed all morning on Wednesday. So if you're thinking dip buy, you really have to have an unbelievably patient approach. Or if you're looking long, just look for something that might not care what the market thinks, which is why I keep going back to this Gemini stock. Man, that is, okay, yeah, it's great, just louder now. All right, here comes CBRS. CBRS now wants to break that low of the day. If it bounces off the low, I might take a shot at VWAP and just sit there in front of 300. But I expect I'm going to get filled when this breaks the 290 level through the bottom. Cross down, we'll see if we get the fill. There's no guarantee of anything, right? Like you throw the order out. The spread could open up so wide that you don't get any kind of a fill. It was almost, the 350 break was really hard to pick yesterday on this. But I suspect there'll be some liquidity there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we're back in there. Another pop. I think we have to take it this time, Neil, because before, yeah, we have to take that for sure. We'll take half off again because last time it was very volatile and it just rejected that level pretty aggressively. Maybe this is going to be the opportunity in which we can take advantage of this, right? Because we had some from before. Let's do that again here. My noisy hotkeys, man. There we go. All right, we take half off up there. Let's see if this is going to be the break. We've had multiple tests, and I mean, if we look at this from a 1 minute, it does look like it wants to climb a little bit higher. So we won't complain. But we do have a higher price, right? We're in about a couple more cents higher than what we were before, which isn't ideal. Right, it's not ideal, but hey, we're back in it. There it is, 56s. We're printing on. That will take another quarter off right there. Bang, nice Fig. You want to stick with what's strong. So now we're sitting on approximately, I think, 20% of our position. Or it's not. I think we are sitting on exactly 25% of it. We'll leave some for a runner. So a nice little move there on Fig. We took the loss earlier on Tesla, and then we got out of that one. We're like, what are we doing? We want to find some signs of strength, and we found that here right in not Fig Newton. Anyways, here it is. We take that out when we were supposed to, and another uptick, and a nice little pop on FIG. Now up almost 12% here, Neil, so not too bad of a look.
Okay.
There it goes, another pop to the top side. We'll take that one. So not bad whatsoever. Wish we had a little bit more, typically how it goes, but you know what they say, you don't want to get too greedy, right? Leave some for the needy. All right?
Who says they don't want to get too greedy? Wall Street says the opposite.
Yeah, Wall Street,
Sometimes
yeah,
greed can be good.
Very true.
Lunch 911 caught Tesla down. Thank you, everyone. Congrats there. Oh, here comes the break. Of course, simultaneously, like right when CBRS is threatening to break that low of the day, is basically precisely when both Gemini makes the attempted break of the trend line, and Intel tries to pull back into VWAP. So I'm going to jump out of Intel at a lower high. Like that came in, it finally picked me up, but it's a little bit too strong. I had my order left out there. I'm like, I don't know how badly we need to get wrapped up in that, especially with Gemini possibly coming in any second now. And then Gemini tried to break this VWAP, took the entry. We're going to give it, it's always the same thing for me. It'll be like the prior bar low is the out. 98 times out of 100, sometimes I guess. That's pretty much always the prior bar low. So we're into Gemini. Still no pop up in silver that's far enough to get me back into the short. Like we're talking trend line a good $0.50 away from here, so I really got to wait that one out. And then we're still waiting for CBRS here. I said it was imminent that it was going to break the low. It broke the low. Well, I said you might not get a fill. I was pretty certain I actually had a shot to get the fill. I did not get filled there. Can I leave it in and get swept up? Like it instantly went down from that 290 break to 283. Like it instantly went $7 and we didn't get the fail. That sucks.
Okay.
But you know what? That's the thing about a break. It's a day 2 IPO. Liquidity is always going to be at a bit of a premium. You know, you can line it up, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to get the fill. So that's one of those. Yeah, that really sucks. It's already down at 280. This thing is falling like an absolute rock. All right, new plan. Short the pop. Yep. First available pop on
I might like NVDL here.
CBRS. I'm going to grab it, and then like I said, prior bar on Gemini. That's going to be really frustrating. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
That was the trade. 100%. That was it.
Yeah, so there it is. We're posted up at 23. At that point, we'll be sitting on approximately 10% of our position. We almost got into that, but I'm like, you know, let's hold on to it. No, I'm looking at NVDA at that 224 hold. Maybe buyers step back into this thing here. We'll play a break on NVDL to potentially the top side, but other than that, no reason for us to get too hoppy around right now, especially if this name is working for us. I don't know if there's going to be an ad opportunity, but we'll take it. Ad Astra, boom, boom to the top. Move, we get stopped out, break even on that one, and then we're fortunate enough to re-engage at the break of the volume weighted average price once again. So a nice little pop. We take some off right there, and then we're fortunate enough to hold some through. The overall market, Bitcoin just looks absolutely disastrous. Wow. What to do with this thing with Bitcoin? Yeah, it's not too good of a look.
I can't even.
With Bitcoin?
Oh, this thing is at 75, and now it's SSR.
275?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
It doesn't matter. You couldn't really get the fills.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's the thing. Like you can't really do anything about the amount of liquidity. You can't control liquidity in the market. Like the limiting factor in trading, outside of your own personal decision making. And the worst part about it is I was like, I'm getting out of Intel. I left my order in on Intel to get short, and then service was about to break. I'm like, I got in. I'm like, I'm just going to punch out of this so I can focus on the break because I'm going to get this fill any second. And then I don't get the fill, and Intel holds VWAP. So it's not even that. It's like the opportunity cost, missed the big one, because I don't get a fill and it goes 15 bucks almost instantly, and then I get out of like a normal trend trade. So if we make another topping tail, I'll pop into Intel, go back into square one, but the market's starting to look a little bit stronger off of these lows, and that does mean it could be Nvidia time. So patience on, this was like the only stock I was looking for a long, wanted to find some of those support levels, couldn't hold here, prior high no good. Well, next support's down at 225, and it looks like we're already bouncing there. So all you can ever do is move on to the next. Don't worry about it. Did anybody get? I'm curious because I threw in the chat to like a couple of people that I know would be trading that today. Did they get any fills through that bottom break? And I have not gotten any firm responses, affirmative responses, I should say.
Fair enough.
Done. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, all right. I mean, there it is. Fig. Nvidia is still holding up, not doing too much at this 118. I think there's going to be this is forming a shelf right now. So what we want to do is be patient and wait for the pullback through here. But if it's really strong and we see buyers start to step back in like they are in the NASDAQ and the SPY breaking through VWAP right now as we speak, a pullback through that 118 and then a continuation, I'm going to like that for some signs of strength. Right now, I think it might be a little bit of a fake out. We're still sitting in this Fig trade right now. Waiting for this to break the high of the day, head into that $23 marker where we have our order posted up, catch that fill right there. Then we'll be sitting on approximately 10%. What are the option chains? What's the options chain looking like at that $20 mark? I think that's a great question. So we may as well answer it because we have the ability to do so, Neil. Gave Neil some candies that hopefully his family is going to enjoy.
Oh, I'd show them, but I already put them in.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Aaron's gonna love those.
Yeah, I think you guys are gonna really like them. To be honest with you, they're real good. I couldn't believe that they were made out of plants. So I hope you guys.
Candy makes you dandy.
It does. What's going on here?
Drugs are bad, people.
Drugs.
No, we actually are talking about candy. That's a line from Half Baked.
Oh, not nose candy. No.
It's a line from Half Baked.
Oh, is it?
You know what Half Baked is?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
with Dave and.
I love even better that you said
obviously. I haven't seen that in years.
Not that I have seen it. No, obviously. Okay. As if everyone knows what Half Baked is.
I think a lot of people do.
Dave Chappelle, Jim Brewer.
You know what anyway, side quest story right now. My buddy, he's still playing Call of Duty. He's like, yeah, man, I'm trying to save money, all this. Him and his wife are trying to buy a house. But then he's like messaging our group chat. He's buying on Call of Duty. They have this half-baked skins. Like you can get Dave Chappelle and you can be Dave Chappelle and carry. And he's like, I'm buying
For real?
that. I'm like, dude, you're talking to me about saving money. You're buying half-baked skins for Call of Duty at the age of 34.
Abracadabra.
Like, get out of here. $310. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to pull up Fig. Let's pull up Fig here and see what we got at 23. So there is a little bit of a resistance zone right there, 12,900 contracts. That's going to be the third. Oh, it's not that high, but I mean, to where we're currently trading, you can see we continuously push down off of that level. If we breach it, then maybe we can take that next step higher, and that could be into that $24 marker. But right now, it doesn't look like anybody wants to absorb it. What we do have is Nvidia continuing to climb a little bit higher. So we'll keep an eye on those two names. I like what we got going on. We're posted up.
Nvidia's trying to go.
It's trying to, man.
Gemini
it's
sucks,
trying
though.
to. It's trying to.
I think Fig's just better than Gemini.
Blicky Spears says, I'd be Call of Duty. Are you 34, though? Says, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I used to play a lot of Call of Duty. So what happened was when I started like reading about trading, buying all my bucks, getting involved in 2021, is that my change of what I was willing to give up was my video game time with my friends. So I cut out video games. I was actually pretty good at Call of Duty. And then I was like, yeah, I'm full on trading. Like I'm trying to learn this game because this game you can make money from, and the other one you don't necessarily. So I wasn't good enough. I was good, but I wasn't that good. Anyways, amen. Joe, I purchased Forza Horizon 6 Premium for $128 after tax. I'm 57. All right. Yeah, there you go, man.
We're turning around off the highs here.
Yeah.
So watch out. I know I just got picked up, and I feel like the only way to get into CBRS, God, I cannot say that right. CBRS is to sit on the offer and try to get some more on the way down. So that's all I'm going to do. We just got into the market highs there, took the trend break, or at least this topping tail break, immediately resistance on Nvidia. So slam some out and going to wait for a chance. If it can bounce here, then I'll take back in. But you've got to be kidding me. Like almost immediately weak. So you can see my stop order go out. See that lag? My PC, the messaging on my PC, like that fills instantly.
Oh, wow.
But look how long that took. Like you saw the order thrown out. It's the messaging. It actually fills instantaneously.
I was looking at that shelf at 118 on
no,
Nvidia.
that's gone now.
Yeah, it's gone.
Now we're gone, but I want to short this pop into 290 on Cerebras. It's easier if I just don't try to say the ticker. So you couldn't, I'm telling you, I couldn't get filled. I don't know what anyone else's fate was on this break of the low, but could not get to fill. And on top of that, this stock is now short sale restricted. It means it's SSR. The uptick rule is in effect, which means you cannot hit the bid unless the last print was green. So I'm gonna try to get filled on the way up, meaning I'm not gonna be getting in all. I like to usually get in all at one price. And that's not gonna be the case today in CBRS. So if I wanna have like an 85 to 87 short going into 90, then I'm gonna have some at 83.5, and I might have some at 85, and I might have some at 80. So just as a way to get in, because when it starts going down, I don't trust that I'm gonna be able to get into position on it. So that is what it is, and there's not much you can do. In some ways, the trade might have already happened. 90 down to 75 is pretty good, but I'm inclined to think this can be weak all day long under VWAP, especially with what the market is doing. Like Nvidia tried to go, couldn't press, and now it's headed lower. This is one of the only things that's giving you that entry. And of course, again, the moment that, again, I'm looking at Cerebras and look what Intel does.
Yep.
Oh, I need to have both. The problem is I only have so many level 2s up, and I'm going back and forth between Intel and Cerebras on one of them instead of just dedicating one to Intel. Intel's so clean. Dara, what's happening now?
There's quite a lot that's happening right now, Neil, but I think maybe one of the biggest stories here for the market is the market's reaction to what's being viewed as a kind of underwhelming summit between U.S. President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping, either way here, sorry guys for the pronunciation there, during the trip to China. Right, so we know that we had a lot of expectations for this meeting, specifically for companies like Nvidia, that perhaps were not met. Either way here, market slammed down that first 15-minute candle as of right now, trying to consolidate. Let's see if we have a green or a red Friday, because of course we've had pretty great rallies over the last couple days. Lots of economic data, too. This is a day where we didn't really have any major economic data prints, so that's worth keeping in mind as well. I've talked about Visa, because I mentioned this earlier, strongest chart I have seen all day, over 1 million shares in volume for Visa. Qualcomm, also on watch here. Both companies, their CEOs rather, apparently met with the Commerce Minister of China, which was just confirmed. So there were some things that came out of these Chinese meetings, just maybe not for Nvidia. Again, guys, Visa and Qualcomm meeting with the Commerce Minister of China. Coinbase and all these crypto plays, we heard Joe talking about these throughout the day. They are on watch with news as well, guys, because of course we had yesterday the Senate Banking Committee, after a very labor-intensive discussion and markup session, they did clear the Clarity Act through the Senate Banking Committee. So it still is yet to pass the full Senate and the House of Representatives, but one hurdle here done for the Clarity Act. And another crypto-adjacent name on watch here, Gemini, on earnings day one. They beat on EPS, they beat on sales, and they got a $100 million direct investment by Winklevoss Capital at $14 a share. Now, it's also worth noting here, of course, other earnings names on watch. They include Figma, FIG, you've got AMAT, Applied Materials, Rumble, RUM, US Antimony, UAMY, so tons of earnings plays on watch. And as always, lots of different types of catalysts, so don't go anywhere. Stick with us all day on Trader TV Live.
I thank you very much there, Dara. So instead of the only way I'm going to get this into VWAP is on the way up. Well, we're in now. And the way that it spiked, I got a better price than what we were expecting at VWAP. I thought I'd have an 87 price, and I ended up with like a 91. Dang. But I'm waiting for the absolute, like back into 85. Just think the $5 marks in this stock, right? Like the open print was $35 yesterday, and most of the candles, if you look at it, were pretty intense. Even when it settled down, you're talking about ranges of $25 to $30. So that's the perspective. So I'm giving it not to 300, but more like 97 or so. Like I'm thinking risk with slippage 10, and then try to get moves in the 15 to 30 range would be the way to go. You just have to change your math on a lot of these. Andre, can you just repeat what you were saying because I couldn't hear you. Okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it loud because you'll hear me. It's all crackly. I can't really hear you well in my ear. So
Say
the
that. I don't hear him.
other
I'm
short
plugged
that I
in, too.
want is the lower high. Should not have got out of Intel. Sometimes, like Cerberus moves a lot, so I punched out of it to manage the other trade. Because, let's be real, like the open on an IPO is a big one, but like breaking down that 290 to me was the trade of the day, and I wanted to be on it if I could have got it. I didn't get it, but in the moment it was going to happen. I didn't want to be distracted by something else, and that was a mistake. So if we get another pop in Intel, I'm going to short this one into VWAP. Look at these topping tails. They're pretty gorgeous for sure. But you know what, everybody? We had him on yesterday. Ooh. Our good friend Mitch. And one of the things that he was talking about was what trading might look like if capital wasn't a constraint. What if, unlike most traders, it wasn't the lack of size holding you back? Trade the Pool's trying to change this for everybody. You step into the US equity markets with up to $200,000 in buying power, and this is without committing your own capital. You have full access to stocks and ETFs. Long or short, executed with the precision and freedom serious traders expect. Your performance is measured by one standard: disciplined risk management and consistent execution. Meet the standard and you operate at scale. No subscriptions, no ongoing obligations, just a clear path forward. For those ready to trade beyond limitations, this is the next level. Shout out to Trade the Pool, and want to thank them. For everyone out there, remember, it is Trader TV, and you get 10% off with that code at Trade the Pool. We're going to go back up to the desk with Adara.
We are, because I want to let you guys know, nothing massive here in terms of moves, but I am seeing reports from Xinhua, which I guess is Chinese media. They're saying that apparently President Xi of China is going to be visiting the U.S. in the autumn. So we heard August or September. This backs that up. Furthermore, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi saying that there's teams on both sides, so the U.S. and China, are still working on details for outcomes on trade. So once again, getting the sense we didn't get too much accomplished when it comes to trade or tariffs at this meeting. But if I get more details, I'll keep you posted. Back to you.
All right, good. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Ozan, I know Tesla's not going to be doing that here today. There goes another pop-up north of $23 here on Fig, guys. So not too bad. Glad that we re-engaged on this one. Boom, boom, boom. We take some off, take the break even, stop out on. It was around half of our position. Now I'm currently sitting on 20% right now. We re-engage at the break of the volume weighted average price. Post up comes up and fills us right at 22.05s, and then we are fortunate enough. Did we get a little partial heavy? Yeah. That's why I admire what Neil's game plans are, because it's like partial. And then it's like, okay, you take your outs, and then whatever the stock does is irrelevant to him after he's taken his money and run.
As long as you get filled.
As long as you catch the fill, yeah, exactly. That's one of the key things. Anyways, Jay, what's up, Evan? Yeah, there we go. We'll hit the flex. Great call. Yeah, it was a good play here today, right? We're up 15%. I think we can head up into 23.50. I'll take an additional 5% off, leaving me, so half of what I currently have, leaving me with 5% of my total position, and we'll let that bad boy rock and roll here today. But not too bad of a Friday. We take one loss on Tesla earlier in the day. Luis Valencia, I know this hasn't been performing very well. And I mean, I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. It's just kind of Tesla gets hot for a couple of days and then it really cools down. So we'll end up taking an L on this one. Starting to find it's bottoming right now. There is a little bit of a higher low on TSLA. Same thing with Tesla. Bitcoin never moved from my charts because it's just not in play. It's a short. Well, if there is any form of a pop, I think I'm going to look to fade it, to be honest with you.
I understand what you're, I get that. It's been incredibly weak, but like I see Bitcoin, IBIT, I should say, because I'm going to trade IBIT and not Bitcoin directly. It's at that Wednesday low and making a turn here. Like if I'm because I love the mean reversion. Like this, I was about to say, it literally is setting up, I drew that poorly, the trend line, but it's setting up for a trend line break as we speak. Yeah, that's so to me, this is like a one-shot type of entry. Yeah, could you have been short this? Could I still be short Intel? By the way, there's a refresher on Cerebras from 289 to 290. So if it holds a third time, I might take another leg out. That's more just reading the tape more than anything else. But anyways, I'm going to get into this. This is confirming the trend break here. May like longs, but there was someone in the chat that mentioned this, and I forget the name, and I apologize for this. At one point I said almost every single day this week you've been able to buy dips and then have that be your wins for the day. And then they said, well, their best trades ended up being in Micron to the short side. And you know what? I find that actually happens to me often. Like in a day where I might be thinking short, like I'll start out like silver short, but then not get the reload. I'll miss the punch on CBRS, get distracted by CBRS and miss the Intel short. And then all of a sudden, the next setup is a long. So what? The market doesn't care what you were doing before, what you thought was going to happen. You just have to make the next available trade. And if the next setup to me is this breaking the trend, then I'm into IBIT long. And it's like ho-hum, like you do what you got to do. Like a trader's job every single day is to just find opportunities to make money, not find the opportunities that you hoped were going to be the best. Did I absolutely hope that I was going to be able to make the entire day on one breakdown on CBRS? Yes. Did I think I would have to sit on the offer, nibble early, and then on the way up take the VWAP fill and just have it come into me and take the VWAP fill? No, I thought I would get one clean breakdown, make it all right there, and then that would be it. Now I'm doing this VWAP trade where I had to take it on the way up because it's SSR and looking for the low of the day. That's not particularly my jam, but it is what it is. You take a, what's another way of, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Is there a better saying than that? I think it's a dumb saying.
You do?
What?
I can't think of a better one, to be honest with you.
When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade?
Yeah. So, I mean, just take advantage of what's given to you?
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Got to be something?
Better than that. It's so old. You guys think of a better one.
Yeah, but someone said that, okay, well, Blicky, I love lemonade. You know what's really good is
I like
pink
lemonade.
I like pink lemonade, man.
I like lemonade.
I like lemonade, too.
My daughter wants to do
a stand?
A lemonade stand.
Yeah, why don't you set one up for the summer?
Well, I was like,
I'll donate.
I challenged her to come up with something creative.
More creative?
Yeah, like why not? She's into baking. I said, well, why don't you bake something and do the combo.
Well, do both. Do the combo. Like get the lemonade and the cookie or the muffin for 5 schmackers.
See now, Joe. Now you're thinking.
Now we're thinking, man. And hopefully I know she's gonna like those candies. Hey, don't try to rinse me clean now, Neil, because you're gonna be looking for them. They're exclusive. You can't get them everywhere. You know this now, right?
The ones you get. Well,
yeah.
Awesome. Where'd you get them from?
They're literally from London, England.
Do you know where I'm vacationing this summer?
Oh, are you going there? Yeah, so maybe you'll find it. Yeah, exactly. No, but there is a store in Toronto that sells the English candy. Candy shop.
So I can get them there.
Yeah. It's on College Street. Okay. But they run out all the time. But those ones are actually from there. Now you're thinking, Joe, exactly.
This buyer is holding pretty nicely. It's between 287 and 291. On CBRS. They're holding the bid pretty well. So I think in this particular case, like what's also going on here is there's a wide trend that's going. So I want to be short as long as the trend holds. So I took another leg out. So I have the ability that if it pops into here, I can try to short that move and stay into this one. So that's the idea I'm thinking for Cerebras. IBIT, I guess we didn't go all the way to VWAP. This is a VWAP retracement trade. It's a trend break into the volume weighted average price. So I'm just gonna get it all out in VWAP. And if it goes further, congratulations, that's nice. I will care less that it went further than that. The other thing that we're working with was just the same names. Finally, you're pulling into VWAP to give me another chance on Intel. Probably should have had this the first time. Definitely had it and then gave up when I went to the other stock the second time. That's a fail, and we'll go for the third. So here comes the press. The market's coming back into the upside. That should hopefully take IBIT into VWAP. I hope that just comes out, and then we can look for the entry into the sell side. Let us know what you guys are watching here, because I'm sure there's some small cappers flying around this Friday. Yeah. I know we're covering a lot of the same names. The NASDAQ is basically just back and forth in the same range.
How did DBL?
It's the low end of the range, but it's into VWAP low, VWAP low, VWAP low over and over again. Until we break that pattern, you kind of want to stick to what you're working with. Show me what you're working with.
Yeah, I agree here. Nice grab off the lows there on IBIT as it's heading back towards the volume weighted average price. We have Nvidia doing the exact same thing. So we were looking at this, guys. I said, hey, watch out for this shelf to be broken. You want to see a little bit more of a clean ebb and flow here. Now 117 holds on NVDL, and then now we're heading right back towards the volume weighted average price. So we'll keep an eye out on there for this market to recover. Looks like there was a potential bottom on Tesla as well too. So a strong recovery. This is what we were talking about earlier, and Sean and I were saying the exact same thing. Neil and I is just wait for this market to find some form of a bottom, and at some point it gets bought right back up. Have we fully recovered here today? Absolutely not. But it's better than a complete sell-off throughout the whole intraday session.
Agreed.
So. Yeah, like there goes NASDAQ right towards the high of the pre-market high or the high of the day as well. The SPY lagging a little bit. With that being said, I like how you were mentioning some of the small cap names. So let's take a look at our scanner. Yeah, NVDA right at VWAP. Yeah, exactly. That's what we were looking for. 5-minute candle holding up pretty good there. I was going to look to take a long on that, but we're just riding what we got in FIG. But HCWB there, 218 million shares traded on the session, still holding above the volume weighted average price. FIG now up to 23.51. We're going to hold this until $24 if we're fortunate enough to get that. Gemini hasn't done anything here today. ORGN. Nice pop up into $2.30, so you almost get 100% return in that one. It's Snail, SNAL, a couple of the other ones, MRNO. So there is some small cap activity. You can see that there's typically a lot of volume with them, but let's send it off to Adara. There goes FIG, putting in a new high of the day. So not too bad of a play, up 17% here, guys.
Just be aware here, guys. Here's the NASDAQ trying to make new intraday highs, getting comments here, again, reported by Xinhua, it's Chinese media, that China and U.S. agreed to set up trade and investment councils during their meeting. Unclear if this is why we're getting this push up, but either way here, guys, again, China and the U.S. agreeing to set up trade and investment councils. Back to you.
There it is. I mean, I want to go long. I want to go long. Oh, CRBS, this guy, that dog. Now I want to go long NVDA.
No, it's got this trend line break, but it did snapped into the top of the trend, and right when it was reversing, I was like finger on the trigger, and then hit right when it failed that high and didn't get filled. So I'm just gonna leave it in, and then we'll stop above the trend line break there. So again, just gonna take another shot at it, a stab at it. That time I didn't just leave myself on the offer on the way up. I actually made the attempt to get it on the way down. IBIT did reverse off of VWAP a little bit here. Yeah, I should be reversing this into the south side of the trade. What was it? I think it was this yesterday that I didn't. It wasn't IBIT. It was something else. Like I actually had a long into VWAP, and someone directly said, Neil, why wouldn't you have just you got out? Was it SLV? Yeah, I had the long reversion into silver on VWAP, and I didn't necessarily like it for reversal. I didn't take it, but this is a bit of a different story, I think, here with Bitcoin, unless the market breaks out those highs. If the market can hold above this breakout level, that's a different story. But that's a big move, because we're under 80,000. That's the thing that changes for me, that over under the 80,000. So under 80,000 weak, over 80,000 strong. So that makes that a little bit of a reversal play. Oh, and by the way, Intel's now through.
Intel.
So it's through the volume weighted average price. If it can show me continuation, I don't mind reversing this long because it filled in the entirety. It filled in the entirety of this gap, right? You came all the way back in and found that support at the 107. So the short can easily be done, and then we're working with some higher lows that we can play off of. CBRS, I almost don't care what happens to the market. You know, I want this one to the downside. It's still underneath. You're still under 300. You're still with that trend into the downside. And just so you know, if this pops in the money, $3 or $4, I don't even have a bid out right now until I get reloaded and reassess. My first takes are generally if it moves $5 on this. So just to keep it into perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of lagging what everyone else is doing right now. Bitcoin is below VWAP. Nice out on that one there, Neil. And then also the SPY climbing higher. We have FIG heading into that 2380 marker. We're going to try to hold this last little bit until 24, sitting on 5%, nothing substantial, but a nice little trend to the top side there in FIG. And now it's just like wait for a pullback into 119 potentially here on Nvidia. We might not even get that as it's climbing up to 228. We were talking about this name earlier this morning, $10 higher. Our dip by around 225 would have been nice. And I'm probably going to do that in the long-term account there. So we'll be patient. I'm going to grab some